Chapter 361. Is it not a joy to have friends come from afar? 5. Tong. A man holding a golden blade and a ghost king with 19 heads take a step forward. The man with the golden blade. Kim Young-hoon steadies his breath. The realm he has reached. From the realm referred to by the Hard tribe of the Bright Cold Realm is the first step before the throne, the method of combat changes drastically compared to the previous realms. In the days they used to be ordinary peak masters, they used to exchange thousands of moves virtually through well-honed intent, optimizing their movements to strike their opponent within this imaginary bout. But from their current realm onwards, they no longer use such methods. Because it's unnecessary. Tong. Once again, they draw closer. Kim Young-hoon's eyes burn with a golden light, and the eyes of Seo Eun-yun, from his 19 heads, blaze with a chilling flare. It begins with Kim Young-hoon. He executes a simple horizontal slash, immediately following it with an upward slash, creating a crosscut. A slash that tears through time. But that is just the beginning. A golden storm erupts from him. Every single one is one of Kim Young-hoon's saber strikes. In response, Seo Eun-yun wields his transparent sword. His sword flows like waves, at times like a storm, countering Kim Young-hoon's golden waves. At their level, there is no need to match imaginary blows. Because both have reached a realm where they can realize their imaginations. Quadududuk. A colorless and gold storm rages, pulverizing a corner of Wuji Religious Hall's roof to dust. Piercing through that storm, Seo Eun-yun's dark grasp clenches towards Kim Young-hoon. Kim Young-hoon's eyes glint as he swings his saber in the air, scattering golden rays at the Black Hand. The rays seem to repel the Black Hand, extending across the Twilight Domain. In the next moment, countless rays of light from the entire Twilight Domain descend upon Seo Eun-yun. It's as if innumerable arrows of light are striking the Ghost King of Darkness. Each ray scattered by Kim Young-hoon is a gang sphere, and countless gang spheres imbued with the enlightenment of surpassing radiance pours onto Seo Eun-yun. Though it appears that Kim Young-hoon is maintaining the upper hand in the first clash, his face remains tense as he twitches his fingers. Some of the gang spheres pouring down on Seo Eun-yun follow his will, retrieving the demon sabers and devil swords he has scattered on the roof. After confirming that his weapons are back under his control, Kim Young-hoon retreats without hesitation. Exclamation mark. In the next moment, something that seems to contain all of heaven's natural colors sweeps through the spot where Kim Young-hoon had stood, moving so fast that even sound can't keep up. He feels goosebumps all over his body and heightens his focus. Then, amidst the baptism of golden radiance, the Ghost King of Darkness emerges with blazing eyes. Boong. Kim Young-hoon senses Seo Eun-yun disappear in an instant. Record of transcending cultivation and exhausting martial arts. Sharpening his consciousness like a blade, he reads everything around him. In a split second, he senses a movement in the plane of soul and launches his surpassing radiant saber towards it. The All-Heaven's sword suddenly appears from the void and clashes with the surpassing radiant saber. Kuong. Blood spurts from Kim Young-hoon's 7 orifices. It's the result of focusing solely on defending by letting the force flow through, using a talent that even the word, heavenly, would not do justice. Gradually, the surroundings darken. Their minds have accelerated to a level where even sound is left far behind. And within the brief instant, akin to a gap in time, Kim Young-hoon makes a swift decision. I can't take it head on. He quickly pulls out a talisman from his bosom and hastily sticks it to his body. His entire body rapidly regenerates. Normally, Kim Young-hoon is a martial artist who enjoys fair and square martial duels, always preferring direct confrontations. This is even more so when facing opponents at the integration level, such as integration stage demon kings or grand cultivators. Each of them is like a small dimension, a subspace with its own will. They are natural disasters, and before them, Kim Young-hoon is like an ant. So how does an ant confront a natural disaster? By reading the flow of the natural disaster, incorporating all its forces into his calculations, and tracing the source of power. Then, with the body of an ant, slashing through the natural disaster to reach and sever the source of power. Natural disasters possess terrifying power, but the ant wielding an iron stick could calculate all the paths and trajectories needed to cut through the disaster, making a miracle possible. However, Kim Young-hoon stares at the monster before him. When facing natural disasters, he would wield a toothpick through the gaps in the natural disaster along the optimal path to confront them. But the opponent before him is no different from a natural disaster wielding all its power within a toothpick at the same level as himself. Exclamation mark. In a fleeting moment, the All-Heaven's sword scatters once again. Kim Young-hoon became a streak of light, using all his strength to dodge even the slightest touch of the sword. He finally made up his mind. Fight fairly as a martial duel. Humans might be able to face natural disasters honorably. Even when disasters cover the sky and shake the ground, disasters cannot specifically target humans. Thus, humans can survive and become stronger within them. But what if a natural disaster wearing human skin chases after them to kill? What if a disaster that couldn't originally target insects starts moving like an insect, precisely targeting and persistently chasing after them? Kim Young-hoon steps on the air and moves his body from the sky to the ground of the Twilight Domain to dodge. Likewise, Seo Eun-yeon closely follows Kim Young-hoon as expected. Boang. He erases the word, direct confrontation, from his mind. Kim Young-hoon hides between the buildings of the Wuji religious order. He plans to ambush Seo Eun-yeon while moving between the buildings. However, he looks up at the sky for a moment. Quote. 3,000 colorless glass swords are shining in the sky, imbued with the all-heavens sword. The swords begin to fall. While desperately dodging the swords with all his might, Kim Young-hoon reads their intention. They're hurting me. And as he dodges the baptism of the all-heavens sword, he meets Seo Eun-yeon's eyes emerging from an alley ahead. Before he has a chance to escape, Seo Eun-yeon raises his right hand. In his hand is a sword containing all of heaven's natural colors. Boang. The next moment, the Twilight Domain splits in half. This guy, does he not even care if his own territory gets destroyed? Kim Young-hoon, barely dodging Seo Eun-yeon's strike, reached out into the air with a look of disbelief. Kim Young-hoon's collection, Dark Oil Saber Yin Yu Dao Balancing Wind Xie Feng. Pete. As soon as he grasps the demon saber, a dark aura emanates from it under Kim Young-hoon's will, quickly engulfing the surroundings. When Kim Young-hoon flips the blade of Balancing Wind, the surrounding dark aura begins to shine. The aura imbued with yin energy reverses to yang energy, causing an explosion. Kim Young-hoon and Seo Eun-yeon each take different actions as they watch the explosion in the darkened world. Kim Young-hoon quickly retreats, while Seo Eun-yeon manipulates the colorless glass swords around him to grind down the yang energy induced by Balancing Wind, extinguishing the explosion before looking at Kim Young-hoon. Ku Wang. With a single step, Seo Eun-yeon closes the distance on Kim Young-hoon. Kim Young-hoon and Seo Eun-yeon collide. Ku-gu-gu-gu-gu. Countless rays of light tangle in the frozen time. And within that, Kim Young-hoon's grip bursts multiple times, and his innards are vigorously shaken. Split. He retreats, swallowing blood. Tot. Once again, he takes out a regeneration talisman and sticks it to his body, gritting his teeth and gesturing with his fingers. His Gang Sphere clone brings him the Devil Sword Hidden Gem Yuku. Once again, Seo Eun-yeon uses the record of transcending cultivation and exhausting martial arts. Kim Young-hoon heightens his senses to the brink of overload, barely locating Seo Eun-yeon's position, and slashes upwards with Hidden Gem. Jing. Kim Young-hoon's Devil Sword Hidden Gem, imbued with the surpassing Radiant Saber. And Seo Eun-yeon's colorless glass sword, imbued with the All-Heavens Sword. The two swords collide, and shockwaves spread in all directions. The nearby buildings of the Wuji religious order are uprooted and thrown in all four directions by the shockwave. This time, Kim Young-hoon does not spurt blood from his orifices. Instead, his devil sword shatters into pieces. Seo Eun-yeon smirks and sends him a hard message. What is this now? A straw stick. Seo Eun-yeon then thrusts the colorless glass sword towards Kim Young-hoon, whose sword has broken. Kim Young-hoon quickly takes out the demon saber clearing C, Shanhai to block the colorless glass sword. Kwagg. Once again, Kim Young-hoon's demon saber inevitably shatters, scattering into countless shards. Internally shedding tears of blood, Kim Young-hoon summons numerous demon sabers and devil swords through his sword control technique. The devil sword expansive rock shatters into pieces under Seo Eun-yeon's upward strike. The demon saber ruin is split in half by the horizontal slash of the colorless glass sword. The spirit sword annihilation is bitten and broken by Seo Eun-yeon's mouth while descending. The black saber Starry Night bends like a bow while defending against Seo Eun-yeon's body slam. Kwang. Unable to withstand the impact of the body slam, Kim Young-hoon vomits blood from his entire body as he is thrown into the battlefield of other four-axis stage cultivators. Seeing his beloved blades being utterly destroyed, he feels as if a house he had bought with his lifetime's worth of retirement savings has been blown up and obliterated by some insane bomber. Tot. Yet, there's no time to even dwell in misery as Seo Eun-yeon starts rushing towards him. Do. Kim Young-hoon hastily searches for a regeneration talisman and sticks it on his body before quickly leaping upwards and landing on the shoulder of a starlight giant that is simultaneously confronting 6 cultivators at the 4-axis stage. He then takes out his beloved weapons again. Seo Eun-yeon approaches and extends his hand. His hand, fused with the All-Heaven's sword, narrowly grazes the top of Kim Young-hoon's head. Kim Young-hoon throws the Extinction Sword True Soul to buy time and moves to the starlight giant's knee to dodge. Seo Eun-yeon swats away the Extinction Sword True Soul with his hand, breaking it like a straw and discarding it. A nearly frozen world. In that space, they fight, using the bodies of other cultivators as terrain. Seo Eun-yeon's sword stretches out across heaven and earth and the 4 directions, trying to trap Kim Young-hoon, while Kim Young-hoon's saber evades his sword like a bird. Kim Young-hoon flows like a river, avoiding the 4-axis cultivators who are attacking the Twilight Domain, and moves outside the barrier of the Twilight Domain. Seo Eun-yeon follows, smashing through the bodies of the frozen 4-axis cultivators, pursuing Kim Young-hoon. Kim Young-hoon grasps the Divided Saber One Spirit, infusing it with his energy. In an instant, Divided Saber One Spirit emits light, creating 108 identical clones of Kim Young-hoon. These are intricate clones, on a different level from the Gang Sphere clone. Seo Eun-yeon moves the All-Heaven Sword. Querarara, like a hedgehog revealing its quills, spikes of light shoot out from around Seo Eun-yeon. Puff, puff, puff. The sword strike that had killed a 4-axis stage cultivator in one blow now shatters Kim Young-hoon's clones. Taking advantage of this gap, the real Kim Young-hoon focuses his mind. This time, he doesn't use a devil sword or demon saber. He solely sharpens his consciousness and takes a stance. In this fleeting moment, with his mind composed, Kim Young-hoon's eyes burn. His heart essence compresses like a line. Single strike of the first step before the throne. Taut, re-entering the depths of the Twilight Domain, Kim Young-hoon takes his stance, drawing on a lifetime's worth of concentration with the taut intensity of a bowstring holding an arrow. KWAJIK. As Seo Eun-yeon shatters Kim Young-hoon's last clone, their eyes meet. Seo Eun-yeon's 38 eyes burn with ghost fire, and Kim Young-hoon's eyes burn with a golden radiance. In the dark, still world, their gazes cross, and in the next moment, Seo Eun-yeon sees a golden pung bird charging at him. And Kim Young-hoon sees the 3 great ultimates rising behind Seo Eun-yeon. A flash of light, and a moment later, Seo Eun-yeon becomes the sword. His heart essence also compresses, becoming the single strike of the first step before the throne. The sword that Seo Eun-yeon has become rushes at Kim Young-hoon, smashing the pung bird and reaching right in front of him. However, the next moment, Seo Eun-yeon locks eyes with Kim Young-hoon, who has taken the stance for continuous strikes. Kim Young-hoon smiles in the darkness. Boong. Seo Eun-yeon flinches. He can understand up to continuous strikes. But he knows, this is a triple consecutive strike. KWAGG. Within the continuous single strikes, Seo Eun-yeon succeeds in destroying the pung bird. But he can't help but show a gap by the 3rd continuous first step before the throne single strike. Quadududuk. Kim Young-hoon's all-out slash pierces Seo Eun-yeon's opening. Exclamation mark. A golden wound is left on Seo Eun-yeon's body. Yet, Kim Young-hoon does not continue to attack Seo Eun-yeon but retreats with all his might. It's shallow. It isn't that Kim Young-hoon slashed carelessly. Nor had Seo Eun-yeon leaked any power. It's simply the All-Heaven's sword flowing through his body, that bizarre circuit, his naturally thick skin, the protective body force of his late 4-axis stage cultivation, and among other factors that prevented Kim Young-hoon's blade from properly penetrating. As Kim Young-hoon quickly retreats, he notices those who move slowly even in the still world where he and Seo Eun-yeon reside. The 6-armed god, scattering lightning from his entire body, and the notorious pirate Captain Jin Ma-yeol, swinging his chain sickle while using a semi-transparent stealth technique. The 2 grand cultivators at the integration stage are moving, albeit slowly, even in Kim Young-hoon and Seo Eun-yeon's world. Kim Young-hoon climbs onto the shoulder of the 6-armed giant, taking a moment to catch his breath, and grits his teeth. I need to steady my breath. 0.1 seconds. That is enough. But in their world, that amount of time is enormous, and Kim Young-hoon decides he needs to briefly hide. His gaze turns to the sea circle formed by the Bukhyong fleet. A dimensional barrier formed by the sea of the ancient force realm. I'll step out briefly to catch my breath. He makes a quick decision and looks at Seo Eun-yeon. Kugugugugu. Seo Eun-yeon, with the 3 great ultimates on the back of his head, is rushing towards Kim Young-hoon at an insane speed. In the next moment, Kim Young-hoon launches a slash at Seo Eun-yun. Becoming a streak of light, he flies towards the sea circle. Kwang! The flying Seo Eun-yun directly tears through Kim Young-hoon's slash but loses control of his speed, colliding with Jaeon Myung-hoon and bursting the upper part of the giants apart. Now, Kim Young-hoon's eyes shine as he sees Seo Eun-yun apologizing to Jaeon Myung-hoon for a lengthy 0.01 seconds. Pot! His speed increases. Compressing his heart essence once more, he overlays his body with the single strike of first step before the throne. At some point, he reaches a place where neither light nor sound can touch him, finally feeling the dimension below his feet. Wu Wang, he moves faster, and faster, until his physical body transcends the plane for an instant. Kim Young-hoon moves in the distant void. Pot! Finally, Kim Young-hoon returns to reality. He is outside the sea circle formed by the Bukhyang fleet. Hua, catching his breath, he takes out his treasured weapons and a regeneration talisman, sticking them all over his body. The sea circle formed by the Bukhyang fleet is literally a barrier using dimensions. It's a state similar to several grand cultivators, domains overlapping, making it almost impossible to simply exit. Only by becoming so fast that one momentarily transcends dimensions like Kim Young-hoon, could one overcome this insurmountable wall. And just as Kim Young-hoon is about to leisurely catch his breath for 0.1 seconds. Kuong! The sea domain shakes as Seo Eun-yun smashes through a corner of the sea circle. The three great ultimates are spinning furiously behind him, and Kim Young-hoon stares at Seo Eun-yun in a daze. Was it really supposed to just pop open like that? Momentarily letting out a hollow laugh, Kim Young-hoon stops catching his breath and readies for battle once more. Wing! Grabbing the demon sword, Kirin, Kim Young-hoon draws upon its power. For just an instant, all increase the weapon's lifespan. He fiercely spins his thoughts, creating a new martial art to overcome this situation. TSTSTSTST. His eyes follow Seo Eun-yun, tracing Seo Eun-yun's circuits. Just like the circuits covering Seo Eun-yun's entire body, something resembling veins of golden light begin to spread through the devil sword he holds. It's fundamentally different from something like the external inner core. It's a martial art that mimics the characteristics of the opponent he is fighting, elevating the weapon's potential by another level. Of course, Seo Eun-yun's circuits have countless functions such as recovery, defense, attack, amplification, stealth, tracking, and cleanliness, but Kim Young-hoon can only imitate one function. Since it's impossible to perfectly mimic the circuits developed by a genius like the Mad Lord after seeing it only once, the function he copies is only one. The function to amplify the weapon's performance. Quaduduk. The demon sword begins to tremble. Simultaneously, the energy of the sword grows even denser. Kim Young-hoon feels his chest burn. My precious collection. Unlike Seo Eun-yun's circuits, which have no side effects when used, the veins engraved through this martial art has a drawback. The amplification through these veins burn the weapon's potential, rendering it unusable after a single attack. Kim Young-hoon wields the amplified demon sword, imbued with the enlightenment of surpassing radiance, towards Seo Eun-yun. Kuong. The shockwave reverberates, twisting the deep sea of the nearby sea domain. However, for the first time, Kim Young-hoon, who has consistently had his blades shattered and been pushed back, manages to withstand Seo Eun-yun's single strike. Though these are infamous devil swords and demon sabers known throughout the sea domain, only by drawing out all their potential and causing them to go berserk can he block Seo Eun-yun's single strike. Gripping the evil saber Grief, he unleashes its potential once more and swings from the upper left to the lower right, while Seo Eun-yun counters from the lower left with the All Heavens sword overlaying his bare hands. Kim Young-hoon recalls his memories with his beloved weapons. Snatched from an integration stage cultivator, the natal dharma treasure of a grand cultivator, the evil sword Grief. The ancient demon sword Dazzling Light, found in an underground labyrinth. The precious ghost sword Supreme Eevee, found in the embrace of an integration level deep sea monster. The devil sword Sacred Axis, forged from the axes of 1,004-axis stage cultivators. These distinguished blades, which would make even integration stage cultivators drool over them, are being grinded down before Seo Eun-yun. But regardless, by grinding down his blades, he is managing to put up something resembling a fight against Seo Eun-yun. Of course, in return, his strength is rapidly depleting. Spurt. He clenches his teeth, squeezing out his meridians. Despite being a life or death situation, a smile never leaves his lips. Yes, I've already known. Though it's hard to discern heart essence when reaching this realm, some parts can still be seen to some extent. Hence, even though he was suspicious of the monster in front of him, he had somewhat figured out that it was Seo Eun-yun from the start. However, he deliberately provoked him because he wanted to have a sincere spar. Has it been 200 years since I met this guy? Though he thought himself a genius, he can feel himself becoming humble upon seeing him. Reaching the 4-axis stage is a heaven tribe. Reaching the 4-axis stage is an earth tribe. Moreover, it's not even the early stage but the late stage, with attraction force and power. Even his martial arts have reached the same level as his. Just what kind of monster is this? That must be a real genius. Kim Young-hoon feels humbled, grinding down all his possessions to continually clash with Seo Eun-yun. And before long, he notices the demon sabers within his reach gradually diminishing. Damn, I'm squandering my entire fortune in a single duel. Tong. His and Seo Eun-yun's sword clash for a moment. There is a slight pause between them, and Kim Young-hoon's eyes light up. I have to end it with this strike. Zeetst. He pulls out his most cherished beloved weapon, which he had kept hidden until the very last moment of last moments. The name of the beloved weapon is Radiant Saber, Wei Dao Ryan Loon Wheel. Though it has less fame compared to the notorious devil swords and demon sabers, it's a saber Kim Young-hoon had taken from a grand perfection integration stage grand cultivator possessing the most suitable ability for him. The ability of Radiant Blade. Ryan is simple. Regardless of the user, it triples the wielder's speed for 1 second. His heart essence compresses once more. Noticing Kim Young-hoon's momentum, Seo Eun-yun also begins to compress his heart essence. Wing. The 3 great ultimates behind him begin to shine brilliantly. The next moment, Paysak. Seo Eun-yun's eyes light up, and finally, his dragon form disguise method is released. Holding the all-heaven sword, he begins to perform a sword dance. It's a sword dance imbued with the single strikes of the first step before the throne. Normally, the single strike of the Heart Tribe's first step before the throne consumes all the user's energy and focus. Thus, most of the Heart Tribe would be in a near-death state after using single strike until they become accustomed to it. But what happens when the Heaven Tribe and Earth Tribe rise to the first step before the throne? Through their unique recovery abilities and the endless absorption of energy through celestial energy guidance, they can recover in an instant even if they reach a near-death state. Therefore, thanks to their unique recovery abilities and life force, the Heaven and Earth Tribes can execute the single strike of first step before the throne several times, unlike the Heart Tribe. Then, what about Seo Eun-yun, who possesses the cultivation of heaven, earth, and puppet? Seo Eun-yun prepares the Severing Mountain swordsmanship's ultimate move, Severing Mountain. A strike that bombards the opponent with over 20 techniques, causing an explosion. Pot. Kim Young-hoon vanishes into the beam of light, and in an instant, a pung bird appears. Seo Eun-yun unfolds his 8 wings. The body of Starlight and the puppet's circuit vibrate. He covers his entire body with the hazy mist of the canvas of myriad forms and connections. I can feel it. It's clear to him. He can feel that the Kim Young-hoon before his eyes also intends to deliver his final strike, having fully accelerated his saber. He must also be pouring all his power into each move used in Saber Tomb to confront me. Seo Eun-yun smiles. How about this time? Will he be able to properly surpass Kim Young-hoon this time? No, that's not it. Seo Eun-yun believes in his own martial arts that he has been training until now. He believes in the history of his endless practice. He believes in the ill fate that endlessly showered misfortune upon him, but ultimately saved him. His sword resounds. From the profound realization of the 22nd move, Severing Mountain, more were added with later enlightenments. Endless mountains beyond mountains, which ensures the momentum never changes. Foolish old man moves mountains, which not only maintains the momentum but increases it. Sea of righteousness and mountain of grace, which unifies enlightenment. One annihilation to the near shore, which explodes power from the sea of righteousness and mountain of grace. Guiding to the summit, which reverses the opponent's strength. 12,000 peaks, the pinnacle of the sword formation. Boundless Tao to the other shore, which gathers and releases all the power of one annihilation to the near shore. And Deep Mountain, emerging Tao, which moves the sword from a higher plane to a lower plane, increasing the sword force. All the history and fate of his martial path, that he arduously crawled up with his limited talent, bursts forth from his hands. His opponent is the incarnation of true martial arts Gen Wu. Saber Tomb, a golden pung bird and the history of a slow-witted dullard clash in the sky. Severing Mountain, and the entire sea domain trembles. The light subsides. Kim Young-hoon, covered in blood, looks at his beloved blade with trembling hands. The saber he had saved until the very end of very ends. The demon sword specialized for speed. Radiant saber Ryan. Except for the hilt, the blade is gone. Quote. He looks around. He is on top of some deep-sea monster's corpse. It seems the deep-sea monster was caught up and killed in the fight between Seo Eun-yun and Kim Young-hoon. Its entire body is shredded with sword and blade marks. It appears to be a kind of mimic monster that reads memories and mimics them as illusions, as countless crude illusions are rising from the corpse of the deep-sea monster. The illusions form forests and mountains. Maybe because the deep-sea monster primarily mimicked mountainous demon beasts, the emerging illusions are of huge cliffs, great mountains, and peaks. Kim Young-hoon lets out a hollow laugh. His voice doesn't come out well, but he squeezes it out and speaks the words he intends to say. Your victory. Seo Eun-yun. Having finished his words, Kim Young-hoon collapses forward at the feet of Seo Eun-yun, who is holding the colorless glass sword before him. Despite his defeat, despite having lost all his cherished weapons and wealth, his expression isn't bad at all. I was too reliant on external objects. Yes, thanks to you, I could grasp the clue to the next realm. With that, he falls asleep with a smile amidst countless illusions of great mountains. Gasping for breath, I place the colorless glass sword into my storage scroll with trembling hands. I don't even have the energy to store it within the Dan fire. Though all the volcanic power in my body has been completely drained, I don't care. I won. I defeated him. That is enough. I collapse onto the corpse of the grotesque creature. I need to stop them. Far away, I look at the battle unfolding in the Twilight Domain with a hollow laugh. Energy is returning to my body again, but I can't intervene immediately. It will take around half the time it takes to drink a cup of tea for my body to recover. TLN, the time to drink a cup of tea is approximately 15 minutes, but it is also used to express a short time. Well, still, they won't lose. My faith in my comrades is not shallow and I have no worries that they will get overrun by the thugs of the ancient Force realm. The only concern is Kim Yeon, who is engaged in a massive battle far away, charging towards the enormous command ship while being bombarded by the surrounding fleet. I'm going crazy, if either of them gets hurt while fighting. I take a deep breath, but there's nothing I can do right now. Desperately, I send a brief command via voice transmission to Hong Fan and collapse on the spot. Though the monster's corpse is buoyant, countless illusions surround Kim Young-hoon and me. One illusion is of an old man with a flower basket approaching within 1 jong, approximately 3 meters. Other illusions include a bizarre seagull demon practicing martial arts, a muscular giant kissing his muscles, a strange monk with one eye covered by an eye patch looking for someone with a cough. All kinds of illusions based on the memories of various beings are floating in the air. Seeing these illusions, I look up at the sky of the ancient Force realm. The sky where celestial energy cannot be read. The world of the Earth tribe. The land is history. Someone had once told me that. I reach my hand towards the sky and smile. In the world of history, the history of my martial arts has finally won against the incarnation of true martial arts. My martial arts have not been in vain. Chapter 362. Is it not a joy to have friends come from afar? 6. Jin Ma-yal frowns as he faces the man stroking a hand, the chief law protector of the Wuji religious order, Jaeon Myung-hoon. He feels a subtle attraction force emanating from the man before him. Integration stage, However, Jin Ma-yal is not worried. Judging by how poorly he controls his domain, he must be a rookie who only recently reached the integration stage. There's nothing to worry about. Sirring, he draws out his natal Dharma treasure, tearing fisher chain sickle Lai Sha Suo Lien, and envelops his entire body in his domain. Querarong, he grips the black chain sickle inscribed with jade-colored spell characters, and as he recites an invocation, his form becomes semi-transparent. Overlaying his domain with space, he can become invisible at any time and redirect his opponent's attacks elsewhere. This is his unique technique. Jin Ma-yal hurls his tearing fisher chain sickle at Jaeon Myung-hoon. Rookies in the early integration stage lose their minds if their domain is cracked. Just as the tearing fisher chain sickle, moving at the speed of light, is about to reach Jaeon Myung-hoon. Kwaggg. Jin Ma-yal realizes something is wrong. This is the sky. Why am I flying? And, before he can finish his thoughts, a 6-armed giant, coursing with red lightning, appears above him. In the 6-armed giant's hand is a 7-colored lightning bolt. Wait, Kwaggg. Jin Ma-yal is slammed into the ground, vomiting blood. Something is wrong. Boong. Ku. As soon as he regains his senses, he hastily rolls away to avoid Jaeon Myung-hoon, who is falling from above. Kwang. Jaeon Myung-hoon slams his 6 arms into the ground, and Jin Ma-yeol moves back before wielding his chain sickle. But then it happens. Ku-gu-gu-gu-gu. What? Suddenly, the ground tilts. Through his consciousness domain, Jin Ma-yeol realizes what's happening. The sky island of the ghostly creatures. It's splitting in half. Ku-gu-gu-gu-gu. From behind, he senses some things colliding at speeds too fast for the eye to see. And amidst the gap, he glimpses a flash of golden radiance and grits his teeth. It's that thief. The one who stole my natal Dharma treasure last time. Crack. He can never forget that astonishing speed. The comrade of the conqueror king who stole his cherished nurturing saber, Yu Dao blood fruit Shui Guo. He glances at the something fighting on par with the thief, thinking. Seeing the thief fighting on equal terms, he must have drawn my beloved saber that he stole from me. I should seize the opportunity to take back my natal Dharma treasure. Just as he concludes his thoughts, crimson-red lightning streaks towards him. Kwang. However, an explosion erupts instantly. Jaeon Myung-hoon flinches, glaring at Jin Ma-yeol who has blocked his lightning. In Jin Ma-yeol's right hand is his Dharma treasure, tearing Fisher chain sickle, and in his left hand, his bones, flesh, and muscles have formed a grotesque sword. I apologize. I underestimated you, thinking you were just a rookie at the early integration stage. But it seems you've mastered quite a unique method, your strength likely reaching mid or late stage. Grinning, Jin Ma-yeol speaks. I'll take you seriously. Ku-gu-gu-gu-gu. An overwhelming aura emanates from his entire body. And while it's only for a brief, fleeting moment, Jaeon Myung-hoon feels the same chilling sensation he had once felt from Seo Eun-yun. Fighting steps Do-bu, second realm, Di-er-jia. His grotesque sword is overlaid by his domain. The next instant, Jin Ma-yeol folds space and rushes to Jaeon Myung-hoon's face. Kwa-jik. Jaeon Myung-hoon's lightning spear collides with Jin Ma-yeol's grotesque sword, causing an explosion. Jaeon Myung-hoon looks at his tingling hand. You bastard, that move. It's a type of fighting dance learned in the traditional rituals of the fighting ghost race. Once you reach a certain level, you can. Boong. Once again, Jin Ma-yeol charges at Jaeon Myung-hoon, swinging his grotesque sword. Jaeon Myung-hoon blocks with his lightning spear, but the grotesque sword bends grotesquely like Seo Eun-yun's formless sword, scratching his body. Jaeon Myung-hoon frowns. He can see the trajectory of Jin Ma-yeol's sword with his lightning-sharp vision. The sword moves as if alive, connected to Jin Ma-yeol's body and changes its path, every instant, in the air. Reading each and every air current in the empty space, it makes the optimal choice every moment. Jaeon Myung-hoon looks at Jin Ma-yeol with annoyance and grits his teeth. You remind me of an annoying person. Haha, so what? I thought of frying you for fun, but I've changed my mind. Kwajik, Kwajik. The 7-colored lightning swirling around Jaeon Myung-hoon's 6 arms begin to merge into a single color. Pure red lightning. Jin Ma-yeol senses something is amiss. I will crush you with all my might. Kwajik. Jaeon Myung-hoon extends his 6 arms, launching lightning spears in all directions. Kurururung. The red lightning writhes and pursues Jin Ma-yeol. Kwajik. One of the lightning spears eventually pierces Jin Ma-yeol's torso, causing him to froth at the mouth in excruciating pain. Damn it, I need to escape his attack range. Jin Ma-yeol hurriedly exits the Twilight Domain. Having faced the Conqueror King's fleet several times before, Jin Ma-yeol judges it best to confront Jaeon Myung-hoon near the sea circle of the Baekhyang fleet. However, he soon realizes his judgment is wrong. You fool, to leave the Twilight Domain on your own. Kwajik. Jaeon Myung-hoon's body swells even more. An overwhelming amount of lightning surges within him. Jin Ma-yeol's face turns pale. This lunatic, that wasn't his full power. And then, Jaeon Myung-hoon begins to press Jin Ma-yeol hard. Jin Ma-yeol tries to resist Jaeon Myung-hoon's lightning. In terms of overall combat ability, skills, and combat experience at the integration stage, Jin Ma-yeol is superior, and having reached the second realm of fighting steps, his instantaneous reaction speed is also above Jaeon Myung-hoon. But he grits his teeth. Even though I'm superior in experience, skill, and reaction speed, I'm losing purely by raw power. Kwajik. Feeling his domain getting torn apart by the waterfall of lightning spewed by Jaeon Myung-hoon, his eyes tremble. It ends with this. Pa Jijik. After unleashing the lightning waterfall, Jeon Myung-hoon gathers his 6 arms and begins to form a single red lightning spear. Jin Ma-yeol's face turns pale. And in the next moment, Kwang, a golden light flickers, and suddenly, the Ghost King, who is considered the leader of the ghostly creatures, flies in and bursts Jeon Myung-hoon's upper body apart. Kuog. Seo Eun-yun. Jeon Myung-hoon roars, his voice filled with rage. In Jeon Myung-hoon's vision, Seo Eun-yun's 19-headed figure appears for 0.01 seconds. Seo Eun-yun's silhouette seems to be saying something to him, but it's too brief for Jeon Myung-hoon to understand. Then, using Jeon Myung-hoon's body as a springboard, Seo Eun-yun flies toward the sea circle formed by the Bukhyang fleet. Kwang, one corner of the sea circle, unfolded through the dimensional canopy, is blown open. Jeon Myung-hoon cries out for Seo Eun-yun with resentment, while Jin Ma-yeol stares blankly at the breach Seo Eun-yun created in the sea circle. The notorious conqueror, fleet's deep-sea barrier, was it so easily broken? He shakes his head in disbelief. Indeed, what a monstrous being. I'm fortunate to not have faced it directly. With his thoughts concluded, Jin Ma-yeol swings his tearing fisher chain sickle and grotesque sword at Jeon Myung-hoon, who is hastily regenerating his body. The battle, which seemed to favor Jeon Myung-hoon momentarily, is once again evenly matched due to Seo Eun-yun's intervention. Kim Yeon's first thought when she sees Bukhyang-hwa is simple. For some reason, I don't like the look of her. However, despite this thought, her judgment is swift. I can't let them complete the barrier. I need to capture that commander right now. Suring, Sururung. 8 throwing knives flow down from Kim Yeon's hand. As a faint pink radiance glimmers on the throwing knives connected to her consciousness threads, they are swung towards Bukhyang-hwa. The pink slash flies towards Bukhyang-hwa. But then, Kwang, 2 second Hyang ships, escorting the first Hyang ship that Bukhyang-hwa is aboard, fires their cannons and shatters Kim Yeon's slash. Kim Yeon's eyes glint. What? How could they block my attack with just those meager Dharma treasures? Feeling something strange, Kim Yeon launches another slash and then uses the flying escape technique to attempt a body slam towards Bukhyang-hwa. But once again, cannon fire rains down on Kim Yeon, and she finally realizes. Kwang. As she is pushed back by the fleet's bombardment, Kim Yeon glares at the barrier formed by the deep sea that's unfolded in the sky. This barrier is weakening everyone facing these ships while enhancing the fleet's attacks. Kim Yeon's eyes glow with pink brilliance as she glares at Bukhyang-hwa. If I fight within this barrier, the damage will be great. I need to get outside and fight. And just as she thinks this, Kwang, an enormous explosion resounds, and a large hole is blown in the sea circle formed by the Bukhyang fleet. It's been 5 seconds since the battle began. Oh my, the path has opened. A smile spreads across Kim Yeon's face, while Bukhyang-hwa's face is filled with shock. No, my sea circle. Kim Yeon smirks as she swiftly uses the flying escape technique, brushing past Jin Ma-yeol and Jeon Myung-hoon to exit beyond the sea circle. She then turns her gaze towards the 4th Hyang ships maintaining the barrier from the north, south, east, west, and above, and charges straight at them. As she is about to strike the 4th Hyang ships, the 1st Hyang ship in the Bukhyang fleet, which had previously entered the sea circle, come out and aim their cannons at Kim Yeon. But Kim Yeon laughs. Kwang. The cannons fire directly at Kim Yeon, but she laughs. What, is that all? Ahahaha, it doesn't hurt. There's absolutely no damage at all. Outside the sea circle, Kim Yeon has no reason to be pushed back by the Bukhyang fleet. Bukhyang-hwa's face hardens, while Kim Yeon's face brightens with joy. The next moment, Kwang, 7 seconds after the battle began. Seo Eun-yun and Kim Young-hoon clash in a battle far off in the sea, causing the entire sea domain to tremble. Using the shockwave as a signal, Kim Yeon charges towards the Bukhyang fleet. With a hardened face, Bukhyang-hwa forms hand seals. In response to her seals, the puppets aboard the 1st Hyang ship move busily, waving white flags. 2nd Fleet, 6th and 10th Squadrons, all ships switch to Plan Aul-yi. Position 3 2nd Hyang ships each to the port and starboard sides of the 1st Hyang ship, and to the stern, with the bodies of 3rd Hyang ships. 4th Hyang ships are to support the Sea Master, Haizu, from C. Quarararik. The Bukhyang fleet moves in perfect unison, bombarding Kim Yeon as they form a formation. The 2nd Hyang ships flank to the left and right of the 1st Hyang ship, and the 3rd Hyang ships line up behind, forming a snake-like shape. The Bukhyang fleet float in the air like a gigantic serpent in the shape of the character Aul-yi confronting Kim Yeon. Clank, clank, clank. Numerous ships connect, beginning to interlock with each other. Simultaneously, the Baekhyang fleet, which individually was only at the heavenly being level, transforms into a colossal serpent-shaped puppet, with its aura rising to the early 4-axis stage. Querararik, the serpent of ships moves in the air, encircling Kim Yeon. The cannons all aim at Kim Yeon and begin coordinated bombardment. Kim Yeon endures the bombardment head-on with her bare body and flies towards the body of the serpent that surrounds her. Despite the concentrated fire, it's insufficient to penetrate the protective gangchi enveloping her entire body. Finally, Kim Yeon succeeds in attaching herself to one of the third Hyang ships that forms part of the serpent's body. Witnessing this, Baekhyang makes a swift decision without hesitation. 437th Third Hyang ship, detach from body. Self-destruct. Clank, clank. The part of the serpent's body connected to the designated third Hyang ship is severed, and the few crew members on the ship evacuate. Kim Yeon senses explosive energy surging inside the third Hyang ship. However, her expression remains calm. Sutsutsu. The wonderfully mysterious innate heart cannon activates. Kim Yeon recalls the voice of the Mad Lord echoing in her ears. Although he is a madman, he would regain his sanity with remarkable clarity whenever he taught about puppetry. Listen carefully, my disciple. My wonderfully mysterious fortress, as well as this circuit and all my creations, are fundamentally superior to any mechanical device that exists in this world. Unless they are a puppeteer at true immortality, sacred vessel, or entering nirvana, no one can create a puppet superior to mine. Hee. Words that seem arrogant at first. But Kim Yeon, who has witnessed the Mad Lord's techniques closer than anyone else, understands. All puppets that exist in this world, created by mortals, are fundamentally inferior to my puppets. They are nothing more than primitive mechanical toys equipped with crude puppet techniques. Yes, the vast majority of mortal techniques in this world are inferior versions of the wonderfully mysterious fortress. Do you understand what this means? The Mad Lord's arrogance is not overconfidence but genuine confidence. With the wonderfully mysterious innate heart cannon and my circuits I taught you, you can easily suppress and seize control of the inferior puppets of other lowly puppeteers. Today, I have captured a 4-axis stage puppeteer for you to practice on. Kim Yeon's wonderfully mysterious innate heart cannon penetrates the various parts of the third Hyang ship, forming the same configuration as the Mad Lord's circuits. Kim Yeon sighs. Well, it's not as incompetent as he claimed. Though it is indeed inferior compared to the wonderfully mysterious fortress, it's still a significant technological marvel. No, rather than being a mere inferior version, it feels like it has evolved in a different direction. Nonetheless, she isn't worried at all. After all, her circuits have already seized control of the third Hyang ship. Keying. The self-destruct command for the third Hyang ship is halted. Kim Yeon, having taken control of the third Hyang ship, locks eyes with the bewildered Baekhyang. Well then, here I come. Kugugugu. Using her own spiritual power as the energy source, the third Hyang ship flies in as if it's on a rampage, ramming its bow into the nearby members of the Baekhyang fleet. Kwang. Simultaneously, the interlocking components between the third Hyang ship and the rest of the Baekhyang fleet snaps into place, connecting it to the other ships. Kim Yeon's eyes gleam as she begins taking control of the Baekhyang fleet through the third Hyang ship. Watching this from the command room of the first Hyang ship, Baekhyang's expression twists slightly. My creations. What are you doing to them? Chijijijik. As her emotions intensify, 3 colored patterns emerge on her face. Unlike when she was in the head realm, her patterns have evolved, with 2 of the 3 colors now partially blended. Grinding her teeth, Baekhyang manipulates several devices in the command center. Simultaneously, the command room detaches from the first Hyang ship, transforming into a spider-shaped puppet. Commander, what are you doing? Commander, please calm down. The frantic shouts of the Baekhyang fleet's crew pour towards the command room, but the crazed Baekhyang ignores them. Do. The spider puppet she is riding quickly descends the serpent's body created by the Baekhyang fleet, reaching the Baekhyang fleet Kim Yeon has taken over. Baekhyang's hands begin to move. Clank, clank, clank. The patterns on her face glow intensely. Her hands move faster and faster. Kugugugugu. Countless devices spring from the legs of the spider puppet, dismantling and modifying the Baekhyang fleet in real time at Baekhyang's command. In an instant, the command system of one ship is altered, and the ship controlled by Kim Yeon has its command authority reset. Baekhyang swiftly inputs herself as the new command authority, quickly reclaiming the ships seized by Kim Yeon. Finally, Buck Hyung-hwa's spider puppet lands on the third Hyung ship where Kim Yi-in is. Kim Yi-in smirks. Oh my, what confidence do you have to come all the way down here? I think I can take control of that puppet too. You should not insult my creations. More than that, please get off my ship now. I don't want to. We're in the middle of a battle, what nonsense are you spouting? As fellow puppeteers, should we not fight fairly with puppets? Kim Yi-in scoffs at her words. Well, my master might have responded to your words, but not me. Truthfully, I have no pride in being a puppeteer, and I hate my puppeteer master. I thought this since I first saw you, but you're really rude. The two glare at each other. What's your name? When I capture and modify you later, I'll make sure to specially call the magic artifact your living name. Mysterious Bizarre Ghost King, Kim Yi-in. And yours, Conqueror King, Buck Hyung-hwa. Kim Yi-in, you have an unnecessarily good name, don't you? Ahaha, you better pray I don't catch you as well. If I do, I'll turn you into something like General Buck. Anyway, I learned well from my master how to make living puppets, so I can probably make something good. I'd rather self-destruct than be captured and modified by you, who has no pride as a puppeteer and no personal puppets. But if you get captured by me, I'll turn you into a far superior magic artifact or ship, so no need to worry. The two puppeteers stare at each other for a moment, then quickly move their hands. Boong, Kim Yi-in slashes, and Buck Hyung-hwa urgently inputs commands. C-Pillar, Haizu, activate. Kagwagwagwagwa, Kururung. The slash splits Buck Hyung-hwa's spider puppet in half. In the next moment, the fourth Hyung ship's preparing a formation on the deep sea surface manipulates the sea to create a massive pillar. The dimensional pillar, resembling a water column, shoots up into the sky and strikes the third Hyung ship where Buck Hyung-hwa and Kim Yi-in are. Kim Yi-in squints and looks around. In an instant, her surroundings warped, and she realizes she has entered a strange alternate dimension. Countless scenes shatter like glass and scatter around her. Is this the depths of the deep sea? In front of her is Buck Hyung-hwa, riding the broken spider puppet. Kim Yi-in smirks. You've used some tricks, but so what? You and I are in the same situation. Kim Yi-in takes a step forward. But at the same time, the space distorts, and the distance between her and Buck Hyung-hwa widens. Buck Hyung-hwa's voice echoes from afar. It seems you're not accustomed to the ancient force realm. Hoo-hoo, in the deep sea of the ancient force realm, you can't move properly unless you're at a cultivation realm that can control attraction force. Ha, you cheeky thing, don't worry, I remember your position. I can follow you anywhere. However, Buck Hyung-hwa, who is listening to Kim Yi-in's words, merely laughs as she dismounts from the spider puppet. Try to follow me then. Wu Wang, she pulls out a shining ore from her storage scroll. Holding 10 ancient stones in her hand, Buck Hyung-hwa crushes them all. Pot. Simultaneously, Buck Hyung-hwa's figure vanishes, leaving Kim Yi-in looking bewildered. Chua! Buck Hyung-hwa catches her breath on a nearby third Hyung ship. Kugugugugu. The technique of moving the deep sea of the ancient force realm to create a water pillar and trap the opponent in the depths. Sea pillar. The giant water pillar sinks back into the deep sea. Kim Yi-in, who was sucked into it, disappears without a trace. Since it's probably her first time in the ancient force realm, she most likely wouldn't have ancient stones. Buck Hyung-hwa understands the terror of the deep sea. In the shallow depths of the deep sea, one can escape even without ancient stones if they can control attraction force and have coordinates on the surface. But her opponent is at most at the heavenly being stage, has no ancient stones, and is new to the deep sea of the ancient force realm, so she wouldn't have coordinates. Buck Hyung-hwa uses the flying escape technique to return to the first Hyung ship. Messages are pouring in from all directions. Commander, we thought something terrible happened. Please, Commander, don't do such reckless things. Buck Hyung-hwa waves her hand as if to reassure them with a slight smile. Sorry, everyone, but for some reason, I really didn't like the look of that woman. I just felt like I had to get rid of her somehow. Now, let's continue with the rescue CO-RAN operation. Having lost the spider puppet-shaped command room, she heads to the temporary command room of the first Hyung ship. And it's when she arrives at the temporary command room. ZZZZT. Commander, there's a strange spell on your body. Please check it. The artifacts in the temporary command room activate, emitting light towards her body. Simultaneously, Buck Hyung-hwa notices a white thread-like object attached to her arm. This is a consciousness thread. Just as she is about to identify whose consciousness thread it is. Kua GG Jill. Space tears open, and delicate jade-like hands grab Buk Hyunghwa's arm. Quote. Exclamation mark quote. And from its depths, Kim Yeon's face emerges with her eyes burning with ferocious pink flames. Chi. You weren't at the heavenly being stage. Abandon the prejudice that heavenly beings can't handle attraction force. Kim Yeon grins and covers Buk Hyunghwa's mouth. As expected of Eun Yeon Oppa. Using the power of the vast, cold heavenly circle rotating fiercely in her dantian, Kim Yeon emits attraction force and laughs. Now then, Hyunghwa. I'll give you one last chance. Dispel the barrier you've set up in the Twilight Domain immediately. Kim Yeon points at the sea circle that still surrounds the Twilight Domain, even regenerating the part that Seo Eun-yeon had broken through. When Kim Yeon momentarily releases her hold on Buk Hyunghwa's mouth, Buk Hyunghwa's eyes gleam as she shouts. Sea turmoil, activate. First Hyung ship, self-destruct. Goo. The first Hyung ship the two women are on begins to shake wildly, and at the same time, the water level of the deep sea beneath the Twilight Domain begins to rise. The deep sea starts rising towards the Twilight Domain surrounded by the sea circle, and Kim Yeon glares fiercely at Buk Hyunghwa. Sea pillar, reactivate. Target is the first Hyung ship. From the deep sea below, signs of another water pillar forming becomes evident. Kim Yeon covers Buk Hyunghwa's mouth again and begins infusing her consciousness into her. Buk Hyunghwa's pupils start to shake. Kim Yeon speaks as she invades Buk Hyunghwa's mind with the wonderfully mysterious innate heart cannon. Even if I have to control your body, I will stop it. Buk Hyunghwa's pupils roll back, and her entire body begins to tremble. And then, at that moment, someone grabs Kim Yeon's wrist. Her face lights up with joy. A man dressed in white robes appears between them. Eun Yeon Oppa. Seo Eun-yeon looks at both of them with tired eyes. That's enough, Yeon. Let's just keep her as a captive for now. Yes. Kim Yeon stops infusing her consciousness into Buk Hyunghwa and restrains her solely with a spell. I let out a sigh, swiftly using the wonderfully mysterious innate heart cannon to seize control of the ship and prevent it from self-destructing. I then maneuver the ship to avoid the water column rising from below. If I was just a bit late, it could have been a disaster. I told Hong Fan to stop them if they looked like they were about to kill each other, but Hong Fan seems preoccupied with rejoining the Twilight Domain that I split in half. At least my body recovered quickly. I almost had to witness Kim Yeon presenting Buk Hyunghwa transformed into a General Buk. I send a voice transmission to the entire Buk Hyung fleet, which has transformed into a snake-like puppet. Your commander has been captured. Cease raising the water level of the deep sea and deactivate the sea barrier. However, despite my transmission, the Buk Hyung fleet does not deactivate the barrier, and the water level inside continues to rise. And as soon as my voice transmission echoes, the Buk Hyung fleet begins bombarding the first Hyung ship instead. Boom, thud, thud. I deflect all the bombardments with my attraction force and sigh. Examining Buk Hyunghwa's soul, there's a passageway connected to a distant space. Come to think of it, Song Jin must have prepared a separate means for her to resurrect. Considering the revival methods of the Black Ghost Valley, it seems the Buk Hyung fleet decided it's better to kill the captured Buk Hyunghwa and revive her in a safe place separately. Or perhaps Buk Hyunghwa herself had given such instructions in case she was captured. These bastards. Kim Yeon is furious, but I calm her down and take a big sigh as I head to the bow of the ship. Quararararik. White grain-like spiritual energy floats around me. I send another voice transmission to Hong Fan. Hong Fan, activate the dividing world barrier. Yes, Master. Wu Wang. Soon, a 7-colored barrier envelops the entire Twilight Domain. By my will, the barrier of Yin-Yang 5 elements encases the sea barrier created by the Buk Hyung fleet. Great Mountain. Goo. Clashing the energies of Yin and Yang from my hands, I quickly charge toward the Yin-Yang 5 elements barrier and spread my arms. Splitting Emperor. Goo. It feels like everything in front of me is boiling white. Simultaneously, the Great Mountain Splitting Emperor technique tears through the deep sea barrier. Thanks to the activation of the world-dividing barrier by Hong Fan, the Twilight Domain, along with pre-designated figures like Oh Yun-sok, Jaeon Myung-hoon, and the 13 Ghost Kings, are not torn apart. However, everything except for them is visibly shredded all at once. Kugwagwagwagwa. The 4-axis cultivators, the heavenly being cultivators, and the deep sea barrier created by the Buk Hyung fleet, along with the rising deep sea level inside it, all of it vanishes. For a while, blinding white light envelops all 4 directions in heaven and earth. I squint my eyes. What's this? The power is far stronger than I anticipated. Rather than it being due to my power, it seems the deep sea of the ancient force realm itself is reacting to the great mountain-splitting emperor technique. Goo. What? Just why? I'm taken aback as the power of the great mountain-splitting emperor technique shows no sign of diminishing. Wu Wang. The entire nearby deep sea is reacting to the power of the great mountain-splitting emperor technique. Yes, the ancient force realm itself is resonating with the great mountain-splitting emperor technique. I squint my eyes, looking at the pillar of light filling my view. It's not just because I possess remnants of a destroyed world that brought me to the ancient force realm. Perhaps, this world itself has some connection with the owner of Salt Mountain. Ancient Force Realm, Xiaji Worship Region. At the center of the Xiaji Worship Region, in the deepest depths of the Sea King Hall, a man with blue scales half opens his eyes. His eyes brighten as he looks in a certain direction. Is it that being's true successor? The mountain god will have a fit. He Lin, the sacred master of the ancient force realm, chuckles and closes his eyes again. Try to obtain as much ancient force as you can, descendant of the owner of Salt Mountain. That way, you might have hope against the mountain god. Wei Jiangxi Domain, Governing Dragon Palace. The audience chamber of the Governing Dragon Palace Lord. There, the Governing Dragon Palace Lord Yuk Rin sits on his throne, his eyes wide open. As he looks at the map displaying the real-time situation across the Wei Jiangxi domain that floats on the floor of the audience chamber, his hands tremble violently. His eyes are filled with greed. The one who possesses the power of Peng Lai. Yuck yo, that worthless insect finally did something useful for once. To catch such a big fish, Laughing maniacally, Yuk Rin stands up. This is very good. There's no need to keep my promise with that Jin Ma Yal. A better alternative has appeared. Yuk Rin bursts into a loud proclamation, sending his voice throughout the Governing Dragon Palace. Hear me, prepare a celebration immediately. We will be hosting an honored guest, and if necessary, we will hold Princess Yuk Yo's wedding as well. What are you waiting for? Move now. Thus, the entire Governing Dragon Palace becomes busy under Yuk Rin's command. The 4-Axis and Heavenly Being stage mercenaries who invaded the Twilight Domain all flee with only their nascent soul left intact. Quite resilient, by the time one reaches the Heavenly Being stage. Most usually have at least 1 or 2 methods of revival, so none of them died. Of course, I could have prevented even their souls from escaping with my ability, but I don't feel it worth the effort, so I let them go. After subduing the Bukhyang fleet, I enter the Twilight Domain. Bukhyang Hua, unconscious and tightly bound by Kim Yian's spell, is carried inside by Kim Yian, who slings her over one shoulder. I glance at Bukhyang Hua for a moment and sigh. I don't know what expression to make. At least, the fortunate thing is that since it's been thousands of years, my heart doesn't stir as it did when I met her before. Yun, no, cult leader. Are you going to imprison this impudent thing in the underground prison, or will you kill her? If you leave it to me, I will turn her into a fine puppet. Yian. Feeling a headache coming on, I interrupt Kim Yian. That person is a comrade of Xiao Ran and Shiho. For now, place her in the honored guest chambers. At those words, Kim Yian looks dazed for a moment and then asks again. Isn't she a captive? There seems to be a misunderstanding. She's the comrade of not only Xiao Ran and Shiho but, over there, of Director Kim Young-hoon as well. Only then does Kim Yian notice Kim Young-hoon, who has been brought to the Twilight Domain by the cursed dolls, and flinches in surprise. Kim Young-hoon is still unconscious. Kim Yian, slightly dejected at my words, looks down at Bukhyang Hua. I too look at the unconscious Bukhyang Hua with blinking eyes. Although I don't feel the same turmoil as before, she is still a very complex presence for me. Flinch. Thinking about the past, I inadvertently lose control of my intent and direct a complicated intent towards her. Shaking my head, I return to the Wuji religious hall. When she wakes up, I need to sort out my feelings. After all, I know. The her of this cycle is not the her of that time. So, it might not be a bad idea to take this opportunity to sort out my feelings. I'll probably hear an earful from Hong Fan. During my battle with Kim Young-hoon, I tried to minimize the damage to the order, but the aftermath alone caused significant harm. Thanks to my careful control of power, there were almost no casualties, but the Twilight Domain was split, and buildings were uprooted, so Hong Fan must have had a hard time protecting it. Still, it's nice to see the faces I missed altogether after a long time. When those who fainted wake up, it seems it will be quite enjoyable. Seo Eun-yun enters the Wuji religious hall. Meanwhile, Kim Yi-eun looks intently at the captured Buk Hyung-hwa. Quote. Just now, what was that? Kim Yi-eun glares at Buk Hyung-hwa, recalling the intent Seo Eun-yun had just shown towards her. Quote. Kids. With wide eyes, Kim Yi-eun calls out to the expressionless cursed dolls repairing the surroundings. They immediately rush over and kneel before her at her command. Have you called, Left Law Protector Nim? Quote. Prepare a room in the honored guest chambers and bring medicine suitable for humans. I will personally nurse this child. Chapter 363. Is it not a joy to have friends come from afar? 7. The reason Buk Hyung-hwa became close with Seo Ran was partly due to their meeting through Song Jin, and partly because of the amusing incident involving the engagement between Shiho and Seo Ran, which the parties themselves couldn't laugh at. However, one of the reasons she started talking to Seo Ran was because her childhood name was also Ran Lan Orchid. She remembered her childhood. Even now, when she closed her eyes, she could almost smell the faint scent of magnolias tickling her nose. Ran the voice of a woman. Lovingly calling her childhood name, Ming echoed. No, it's now time to stop using your childhood name, right, Hyung-hwa. Buk Hyung-hwa was clinging to a frail-looking woman lying on a bed. No, just call me Ran. Hyung-hwa sounds weird. Hoo-hoo, it's okay, it's a pretty name. I don't think so. While Hyung-hwa was clinging to the frail woman, a middle-aged man with a stern face brought a bowl of herbal medicine. I've brought the medicine, Yi-eun. Thank you. It was Buk Jong-ho, Hyung-hwa's father. Buk Jong-ho, with his stern yet somewhat sad face, fed the medicine to the frail woman, Yi-eun, Hyung-hwa's mother. After drinking the medicine, Yi-eun coughed dryly. Day by day, her vitality seemed to wither away. Hyung-hwa, can you live well even without Mom? Hyung-hwa shook her head. Mom, where are you going? She buried her head in Yi-eun's chest and cried. No, don't go. I've been having strange dreams lately. Last night, a rainbow-colored bird crushed me. I'm scared to sleep alone. My dear Hyung-hwa, now that you've outgrown your childhood name, you should learn to sleep alone. If you're too scared, you can sleep with Dad. Nevertheless, Buk Hyung-hwa clung to Yi-eun, crying. Even though she was young, she had a rough understanding. It was hard to comprehend death, but she had a strong premonition that she would never see her mother, Yi-eun, again. Seeing Hyung-hwa clinging to her side, Yi-eun sighed softly and handed her a jade norige lying beside the bed. Tituk, Hyung-hwa, Mom will give you a present. Take this. TLN. Tituk TTUK is an onomatopoeic expression often used by parents to encourage their child to stop crying. It's similar to saying, shush, but in a less demanding tone in English. It mimics the sound a child might make when they stop crying abruptly. What is this? It's a promise I made with a friend when I was little. Yi-eun gently patted Hyung-hwa's head. Hyung-hwa listened to the promise entwined with the norige. So, when you meet that friend's child someday, ask how he is doing. Yes, and I will keep the promise well. If it's a girl, I'll make her my sister, and if it's a boy, I'll marry him. You don't have to if you don't want to. More than that, just ask how they are. No, I'll keep the promise. Definitely. Hyung-hwa grasped Yi-eun's hand, making a firm vow. Yi-eun patted Hyung-hwa's head. Receiving her mother's gentle touch, Hyung-hwa hugged the jade norige and fell asleep. Her hands smelled of magnolias. Blank. Quote. Mom. Buk Hyung-hwa wakes up dreaming of her mother, Yi-eun. A strange floral fragrance wafts from somewhere, and delicate fingers seem to stroke Buk Hyung-hwa's cheek. Quote. Mom. Buk Hyung-hwa grabs the hand stroking her cheek and opens her blurry eyes wide. And then she flinches in surprise. Ah, the person stroking her cheek is not Buk Hyung-hwa's long passed away mother, Yi-eun. It's Kim Yi-eun, dressed in a light pink robe. Buk Hyung-hwa raises her upper body from the bed with a wary expression. She quickly looks around to grasp the situation. This isn't a torture chamber or a prison. The bed is clean, there are no restraining spells or prohibitions set up. I'm not a prisoner, are they treating me as a guest? My magic artifacts, none are here. Buk Hyung-hwa, though not completely relaxed, slightly eases her guard and asks Kim Yi-eun. Quote. What's going on? I definitely gave the self-destruct order for the first Hyung ship. Kim Yi-eun scoffs and replies. What do you think would be so hard about canceling the self-destruct order to that toy ship? Bak Hyunghwa nearly loses her composure at the dismissal of her creation, but she barely holds back and touches her cheek. By the way, why were you stroking my face so gently? I was plucking out the consciousness threads that got into your head. Your head is small, so it was easy to pull them out. It's no wonder your magic artifacts are the way they are with that small head of yours. Once again, Bak Hyunghwa's forehead veins bulge at the insult to her creation. Quote. It must be nice to have such a big head. Kim Yeon's forehead veins also bulge in response. Yeah, I guess I am a bit taller than you, shorty. You said your name was Kim Yeon, right? Can you please change it? It feels like an insult to a great person I know with the same name. Oh my, why bring up another person because of your height? Even if I don't like it, I can still call my master's name. Ha, what kind of great person did you learn from to act like this? You, a person from the ancient force realm, wouldn't know even if I told you. Why, are you embarrassed to say? HMPH, I told you, you really wouldn't know. Well, he has a strange title called Mad Lord, but his puppet technique is. Quote. Then, the next moment, Bak Hyunghwa's mouth drops open. Kim Yeon notices her strange atmosphere and looks puzzled. Bak Hyunghwa's expression becomes blank for a moment before she asks in a trembling voice. Quote. Your master, is Mad Lord Jo Yeon. Quote. That's right, but, quote. The one with the hunchback who rides the wonderfully mysterious fortress. What, how do you know that? Weren't you born in the ancient force realm? Bak Hyunghwa doesn't answer Kim Yeon's question and remains in a daze. Remaining dazed for a while, Bak Hyunghwa's momentum lowers compared to Kim Yeon. Quote. How can that person's disciple be such a rude human? Kim Yeon feels her mood sour, but when she sees Bak Hyunghwa avoiding eye contact and looking down, she grins widely. And you were defeated and captured by that rude human, no? Quote. I didn't lose to you. Excuses. But how old are you to be using, you, and, you? TLN, Korean formalities stuff. Doesn't translate into English. Kim Yeon asks Bak Hyunghwa's age, and she hesitates before answering. 271. You're younger than me. When Kim Yeon and her group fell to Ascension Path, Kim Yeon was 26 years old, and Bak Hyunghwa was 18. Although that much of an age difference became negligible after becoming cultivators, Kim Yeon crosses her arms and speaks to assert dominance over Bak Hyunghwa. Call me Unnie. Bak Hyunghwa hesitates, but the fact that Kim Yeon is the Mad Lord's disciple lingers in her mind. What? Can you say it louder? Uncouth thing. However, Bak Hyunghwa can't accept Kim Yeon, who dismissed her creations, and eventually her hidden feelings burst out. A vein bulges on Kim Yeon's forehead as her delicate jade-like hand grabs Bak Hyunghwa's shoulder. Kim Yeon glares at Bak Hyunghwa for a moment but then sighs and stands up. Quote. Fine, what am I even doing with a child? HMPH, the one who looks like a child is you. Yeah, well, you must enjoy looking withered. Thanks for the compliment. Looking down at Bak Hyunghwa, she speaks. Quote. Well, I almost forgot while bickering with you. You're a comrade of Seo Ran the dragon, Shiho the fox, and Kim Young-hoon, right? Bak Hyunghwa, who had been seething, calms down and nods. She momentarily forgot due to the good treatment, but strictly speaking, she is in a situation where she has been captured while fighting Kim Yeon. What's the situation here? Judging by her tone when speaking of Seo Ran, Shiho, and Sir Kim Young-hoon, has she known them for a long time? Kim Yeon explains the general situation to Bak Hyunghwa. Yun Oppa, I mean, our cult leader, the Wuji Ghost King, met Seo Ran and Shiho while he was in the lower realm. Quote. Then what's his relationship with Sir Kim Young-hoon? That person used to be part of our comp. How should I put it? Well, he was more or less our comrade. Quote. Exclamation mark quote. Bak Hyunghwa's eyes widen in surprise at this revelation. Sir Kim Young-hoon was originally a follower of a suspicious cult of ghostly creatures. No wonder he has many titles involving divine and demon. She looks up at Kim Yeon with tense eyes and asks. Quote. What will you do with me? For now, you're the comrade of our comrade, so we won't be hostile. But since you did lead a fleet that caused damage to our order, we will decide after meeting with the cult leader. See cult leader. Bak Hyunghwa swallows at the mention of the cult leader. She has a rough idea of who this cult leader might be. The one who occupies virtually one-third of the Baekhyang fleet's strength and has practically handed over the title of Conqueror King to Baekhyang. And one of the decisive reasons her fleet gained the title of the Invincible Fleet. That Kim Young-hoon fought that entity at a stalemate and was even forced him to send a distress signal in the end. The monstrous cultivator who could duel with Kim Young-hoon while moving across the entire battlefield within 10 seconds, easily breaking through the sea circle barrier Baekhyang's Baekhyang fleet prided itself on. That person must be the cult leader. She breaks into a cold sweat. Quote. What kind of person are they? At that, Kim Yeon's face turns red. That person is, yes, he's an extraordinary person. Baekhyang realizes one thing from seeing Kim Yeon's reaction. This woman is in love with the cult leader. And through Kim Yeon's reaction, she forms a prejudice about the cult leader. If this rude woman likes him, the cult leader must be an incredibly twisted and bizarre person. Or perhaps he's not even human, being the cult leader of ghosts. Kim Yeon, who talks about Seo Eun-yeon for a while, suddenly frowns at Baekhyang's intent, as if finding it unpleasant. Quote. You seem to be having some impure thoughts, but for now, get up and change your clothes. You need to be instilled with the etiquette and language used in Wuji religious order. Hurry up. What? No, wait, what are you doing, Kaya? With an irritated expression, Kim Yeon lifts Baekhyang up and changes her clothes, using the wonderfully mysterious innate heart canon to instill the language and etiquette of the Wuji religious order. Blank. Oh no, I didn't realize my master was worried. I should have considered that. I'm truly sorry for my master. As soon as Kim Young-hoon woke up, Seo Ran heard about why they came and sighed with regret. The recently awakened Kim Young-hoon explained the situation to Seo Ran with an enlightened expression and welcomed us warmly. He reminisced with Jaeon Myung-hoon, Oh Yun-sok, and me, catching up on old times, and expressed regret upon hearing about Kong Min-hee and Oh Hai Seo. Ahahaha, but Hung Nim, why do you look so weak and listless? You need to have a bomb shot, no. Oh Yun-sok, who has always had a younger-older brother relationship with Kim Young-hoon, laughs heartily and approaches the rejuvenated Kim Young-hoon. But Kim Young-hoon, despite being approached by his closest younger brother Oh Yun-sok's cheerful approach, only manages a hollow laugh with somewhat empty eyes. Single quote. It shouldn't be because of me. I wonder if I had gone too far in destroying his cherished items, but since Kim Young-hoon doesn't say anything, I keep my mouth shut. For now. And so, Seo Ran, Shi-ho, Kim Young-hoon, Oh Yun-sok, Jaeon Myung-hoon, and I gather in the honored guest chambers and for the first time in a while, spend an enjoyable time laughing together. Just then, my consciousness detects two people approaching. Thump, thump, is it because we are drinking the ghost wine of the Wuji religious order due to meeting up for the first time in a long while? Or is it perhaps because I haven't yet shaken off the shadows of my past? I feel my heart pound unnecessarily. And some time later, the door of the honored guest chamber opens. Two familiar faces appear, Kim Yeon, and Baekhyang. The long unseen Baekhyang is wearing clothes reminiscent of the ones she wore the day we danced together. Blank. As Kim Yeon helps Baekhyang change her clothes, she thinks. Make it as plain as possible. She still remembers Seo Eun-yeon's flickering intent when he first saw Baekhyang. Because of this, Kim Yeon dresses Baekhyang in the plain white attire worn by the maiden ghosts of the Wuji religious order. If I make her appearance as unimpressive as possible, Eun-yeon Oppa won't take much interest, right? Then, after instilling some information into Baekhyang using the wonderfully mysterious innate heart canon, she takes her to Seo Eun-yeon. Soon after, Kim Yeon and Baekhyang arrive at the place where Seo Eun-yeon, the higher-ups of the Wuji religious order, and the higher-ups of the Conqueror fleet are gathered. Baekhyang walks nervously, practically being dragged by Kim Yeon. Finally, they arrive at the honored guest chambers and amidst her nervousness, she meets the eyes of Seo Eun-yeon who is seated there. Quote. Oh, her eyes widen. Baekhyang opens her mouth wide, repeatedly opening and closing before finally managing to speak with her hands on her beating chest. Quote. It was you, the person she had been searching for across the entire head realm, while she was building the Baekhyang fleet. The promised person who had brought the jade green norige crafted by her mother, Yeon. Seo Eun-yeon gives a faint smile. His intent wavers, and he wears an expression as if reminiscing about something. The first to notice the peculiar atmosphere between them is Kim Yeon. Kim Yeon stares at the back of Baekhyang's head expressionlessly. She subtly infused a strand of her divided soul into Buk Hyunghwa's body using the wonderfully mysterious innate heart cannon without her noticing. So that if they ever fight again, she can control her like a puppet. Buk Hyunghwa, while staring blankly at Seo Eun-yeon, takes out the jade norige from her bosom. Quote. Last time, you gave me this, didn't you? Seo Eun-yeon looks at the jade norige. Buk Hyunghwa, her voice trembling, struggles to find the words. For some reason, she can't think of what to say. But barely, she manages to recall Yeon's words. Ask how they are. Buk Hyunghwa finally manages to ask Seo Eun-yeon a question. This norige, what I mean is, you aren't the original owner, but you received it, correct? Seo Eun-yeon wears a dazed expression for a moment, then nods. Buk Hyunghwa asks Seo Eun-yeon another question. The person who gave you this norige, were they well? Though it seems like a somewhat out of the blue question, it's important to Buk Hyunghwa. She had sworn not to leave Cheonsak City until she asks this question to the person who delivers the norige. Yes, this was Yeon's last wish. And Seo Eun-yeon closes his eyes for a moment. Blank. Were they well? The one who gave me that norige was Buk Hyunghwa from the 10th cycle. I remember the moment I danced with her for the last time. I recall her pure soul ascending to the heavens after we shared our final kiss. Yes, she undoubtedly went to the afterlife without leaving any grudges. So surely, she must have been well. I nod and meet Buk Hyunghwa's gaze, answering her. Quote. The person who gave me the norige left for the heavens without any regrets. I see, that's a relief. Though her question and my answer seem to have different meanings, I recall her from the 10th cycle and steal my heart. So, there's no need for you to worry either, miss. The woman before me and the woman from before are different people. Let's make that clear. From now on, we can build a new connection and create a good relationship as comrades. But she is not the one with whom I shared love. Please, have a seat, miss. The Wuji religious order and your conqueror fleet can become good allies. Buk Hyunghwa, looking somewhat dazed, sits down. She seems to have expected something different from me, but at this moment, she, with whom I have no relationship built, is not the one I had given my heart to. Buk Hyunghwa sees that Seo Ran and Shiho are safe and resolves her misunderstandings about the Wuji religious order after hearing about it. However, she still has a dazed expression. Ah, surely, this is what I needed to hear. She was supposed to ask about their well-being as per her mother's will and, if possible, become sworn sisters or marry him. Of course, seeing that there's Kim Yeon by the cult leader's side, she didn't have hopes for marriage. But why is it? Buk Hyunghwa feels a deep ache as if part of her heart has been torn away. It was like this back then. It was the same when that man first brought her the norige. She feels a strange sensation. Forcing a bitter smile, she excuses herself from the boisterous atmosphere of the honored guest chambers. Her chest feels strange. She finds a somewhat reasonable explanation for why she feels this way. Now, what should I live for? One of her life's purposes was to follow her mother's will. Following her mother Yeon's words, she received the norige and asked after their well-being. Maybe it's a sense of emptiness because she achieved all her goals. No, perhaps it's because she can no longer reminisce about her mother while achieving her goals. The sorrow of not being able to reminisce about her mother any longer as she follows her mother's words. And the surge of emotion when she saw that man. Various emotions well up inside her. Then, Kim Yeon appears beside her. Buk Hyunghwa hides her melancholic expression and asks, "What do you want?" Quote. I came out to keep an eye on you. Ha, that's really funny. And childish. However, Kim Yeon doesn't take issue with Buk Hyunghwa's words and says, "If you want to cry, just cry." What? As a senior in life and a disciple of the Mad Lord, who is practically your superior counterpart, I'll accept it a bit. There are times when you suddenly feel like crying. Just what do you? But Buk Hyunghwa realizes she is already shedding tears. Kim Yeon, releasing the expression she had earlier when glaring at Buk Hyunghwa, approaches her and pats her back. In the end, Buk Hyunghwa bursts into tears in Kim Yeon's embrace. She doesn't know why. Is it because the life goal that allowed her to reminisce about her mother has been fulfilled? Or is it because of Seo Eun-yeon, who made her heart restless? Or perhaps, it's because Kim Yeon has the same name as her mother by coincidence. Yes, maybe it's because Kim Yeon has a peculiar floral scent. Like the scent of magnolia. Her own mother had. Quote. Kim Yeon extends her consciousness, blocking anyone from monitoring them within her consciousness domain, and comforts Bak Hyung-hwa, whose emotions have burst out unexpectedly. Kim Yeon still dislikes Bak Hyung-hwa. And Bak Hyung-hwa, who is crying in her arms, dislikes Kim Yeon just as much. However, Kim Yeon accepts Bak Hyung-hwa's sudden emotions for one single reason. Seo Eun-yeon had done the same for Kim Yeon when she was struggling. Kim Yeon reads Bak Hyung-hwa's emotions through the vision of the wonderfully mysterious innate heart canon. Emotions accommodate all of heaven's natural colors, so she can't read them all. However, Kim Yeon sees the heart that is mixed with worry and sadness for her parents, and she sees her past self overlapping with Bak Hyung-hwa. How long does Bak Hyung-hwa vent her emotions to Kim Yeon? Bak Hyung-hwa wipes her tears and says, quote, "For now, I'll at least say thank you, Unnie." Chapter 364, Holding Hands 1. Bak Hyung-hwa and Kim Yeon seem to show some uneasy symptoms, but after a while, they return and rejoin us. Seeing that their intent seems a bit more stable, it doesn't seem necessary to worry too much. After enjoying a reunion with old friends, we gather the next day in the conference room of the Wuji Religious Hall. Quote, "First of all, I would like to thank everyone for gathering here today. As the cult leader of the Wuji religious order, I sit on the main seat and address them. If yesterday was about reconnecting with old comrades, today is a more solemn occasion as we are meeting with the leaders of the Bak Hyung fleet that invaded the Twilight Domain. It's somewhat expected that the representative of the Bak Hyung fleet would be, true to the name, Bak Hyung-hwa. Thank you for the warm welcome, cult leader. Let's all start by having a cup of tea. I instruct the servant ghostly creatures of the Wuji religious order to bring tea. Shortly after, a pot of honey is placed in front of each of us, and plum tea, a specialty of the Nether Ghost realm, is served. It's a bit sour for the average palate, so I recommend adding some of the honey in front of you. Interestingly, the ghosts of the Nether Ghost realm particularly like sour fruits like plums. Thus, those among the ghosts who practice wood attribute methods had modified such fruits to make them even more sour. As a result, the plum tea, a specialty of the Nether Ghost realm, is much more sour than plums from other realms. Kim Young-hoon, with a face that seems to say, "How sour can it be?" takes a sip of the plum tea and disappears in a flash of gold, reappearing shortly after. It seems he had gone outside the Twilight Domain to spit out the tea. Ahem, I'll just have some water. After seeing Kim Young-hoon's reaction, the others pour honey into their tea generously before drinking it. I order just honey tea instead of plum tea myself, and after lightening the mood after everyone has taken a sip, we begin the meeting. First, I would like to hear about the reason the Bak Hyung fleet invaded our Twilight Domain. Although I heard the reason last night, it's good to hear it officially again. Bak Hyung-hwa points calmly at Seo Ran and explains. First, we deeply apologize for the Bak Hyung fleet's involvement in the destruction of the Twilight Domain. However, I would like to clarify that there was a significant misunderstanding regarding our reasons for coming here. We hastily concluded that Seo Ran, one of our comrades and a member of the Bak Hyung fleet's leadership, was being held here, leading us to enter without considering the consequences. Once again, we sincerely apologize. She bows her head deeply, expressing sincere regret. I accept your apology. However, merely a verbal apology alone won't suffice. Yes, you are right. Therefore, after internal discussions, the Bak Hyung fleet proposes. Despite her words, we already discussed everything amongst ourselves the night before. The Bak Hyung fleet will be affiliated with the Wuji religious order for 1,000 years as mercenaries to compensate for the damages. Oh, very well, excellent. However, we also have some conditions. Bak Hyung-hwa presents the documents she discussed with Kim Young-hoon, Seo Ran, and Shi-ho in our presence yesterday. The document outlines terms to prevent any unfavorable treatment, unilateral discrimination, or termination of the contract without notice. Of course, given that Kim Young-hoon was originally one of our colleagues, such concerns are unnecessary. I signed the clauses with a smile, and the Bak Hyung fleet side indicates they will return to their sea domain to discuss with Song Jin before signing. I laugh heartily and grant permission. After all, Song Jin only acted out of a minor misunderstanding, thinking Seo Ran was threatened. He also owes me a favor, so he will surely agree. Moreover, Song Jin and Seo Ran's current goal is related to Seo Weo, so they will naturally have to ally with me who opposes Seo Weo. In this way, I can naturally rejoin forces with the Bak Hyung fleet, including my old comrades Kim Young-hoon, Song Jin, Seo Ran, and Bak Hyung-hwa. Thus, the Bukhyang fleet joins the Wuji religious order, and I call Yi and Jin before them. Yi and Jin, have you perhaps re-established contact with Yi and Wei? Yi and Jin nods at my question. Yes, my ancestor has recently sent a part of her split soul to me again. Good, in that case. Wu Wang, I infuse Yi and Jin's upper dantian with my consciousness using the wonderfully mysterious innate heart canon, allowing Yi and Wei to emerge from Yi and Jin's consciousness. Shortly after, Yi and Wei opens her eyes through Yi and Jin's body and looks around, sighing. I've already heard a bit while inside Yi and Jin's body. So, we're in the ancient force realm. Yes, that's how it turned out. Ha. Yi and Wei sits down, pressing her temples as if she has a headache. After informing Yi and Wei that we have joined forces with the Bukhyang fleet, a power established here, I ask her 2 questions. For now, there are 2 things I want to ask Senior about. The first is regarding the health axis now that we are in the ancient force realm. Yi and Wei sighs before starting to explain. Since it's their first time hearing about the 5 blessings axis, Bukhyang and Shiho listen with great curiosity. Well, as you already know, building an axis here in the ancient force realm is not much different from doing it in the nether ghost realm. However, there is a difference in the void spirit pond here. She continues her explanation. There is no void spirit pond in the ancient force realm. The void spirit pond is originally a small hole connected to a dimension's surface, but the ancient force realm has no such holes. The deep sea of the ancient force realm envelops the entire realm like scale armor, resulting in no void spirit ponds being present in this world. The deep sea envelops the world like armor. The deep sea of the ancient force realm suddenly reminds me of the clear scale armor. However, there are indeed people who ascend, and there are ways to build an axis. The most notable example is the supervisory jade. Supervisory jade. I recall the jade I received from Co Ran before. Certainly, the supervisory jade allows a strand of consciousness to descend to the lower realms. Most of the islands in the sea domains of the ancient force realm are mostly large chunks of ancient stone. Occasionally, under the pressure of heaven and earth spiritual energy, unique stones are formed within these ancient stone veins. These are the supervisory jades. Co Ran appears to be hearing about this for the first time as well, listening with fascination. The supervisory jade is a device that allows a strand of consciousness to descend to the lower realms. If you collect hundreds or thousands of such supervisory jades and refine them through compression, they are reborn as a new ore called salt crystal Yanjing. Salt crystal. Yes. Honestly, even someone at the integration stage might not know about this unless they are the palace lord of a sea domain. The transparent supervisory jade, under pressure, mixes with many other supervisory jades, turning snow white like salt and gaining new abilities. Unlike the supervisory jade, which only allows a single consciousness to descend, a salt crystal can send dozens of strands of consciousness, and can also be used as the core for the flying immortal formation that acts as a flying immortal platform. I see. I'm amazed by the wondrous properties of salt crystal. It functions just like a void spirit pond, but as an ore, can it be used in other realms? Haha, you want to carry solid void spirit ponds to other middle realms. Sorry, but salt crystals are effective only in the ancient force realm. If you use it elsewhere, it instead acts like an ancient force pathway that returns you to the ancient force realm instead of descending to the lower realms. I see. I click my tongue in disappointment. However, the fact salt crystals can't be used in other realms does not diminish its value. According to her, salt crystals are the only way to build an axis in the ancient force realm. So where does one usually find salt crystals? Typically, supervisory jades are born 1 or 2 at a time in islands with dense ancient stone veins. But to gather hundreds or thousands of them to make a salt crystal, one almost always needs to be the palace lord of a sea domain. Of course it's not easy for even palace lords to make, so there are those that don't have it. The proportion of palace lords with a salt crystal is about half. Finishing her explanation, Yi and Wei turns her gaze towards the Bukhyang fleet. Didn't you say your Bukhyang fleet conquered 3 sea domains? Haven't you found any salt crystals? At her words, Kim Young-hoon makes a troubled face. We saw salt crystals in 2 of the 3 sea domains we conquered. 2. However, the palace lords of those 2 sea domains fled with the salt crystals in their possession, so we missed them. At that time, we didn't realize how valuable they were. Yi and Wei lightly taps her forehead and sighs softly. Well, it's no wonder. If you have a salt crystal, you can set up a flying immortal formation to recruit talents from the lower realms and establish your own force again. For the palace lords, it's as important as their lives. She clicks her tongue and sighs softly before asking me. You can only build the health axis if we have a salt crystal. So if you don't have one, you need to find a way to get one no matter what. Understood. And the second question is, how do we leave the ancient force realm? As I speak, I lightly distort the space with attraction force. Tong. I use attraction force to create a hole in the void and try to extend my hand out of the dimension. However, unlike when I entered, my hand is rebounded back into the ancient force realm. Seeing this, Yin Wei speaks. The ancient force realm is surrounded by layers of deep sea that emit attraction force. Therefore, those with entry qualifications are drawn into the ancient force realm by this force, but once inside, they must break through all of the deep sea's attraction force to leave, making leaving much harder than entering. Ho, so it's like the Azure Heaven creation sect. Oh Yun Sok makes a perfect analogy that's easy to understand, and I understand immediately. But since Senior obtained the health axis and returned, there must be a way to escape. Correct. First, you can escape from the shallow depths of the deep sea if you know how to use attraction force and have coordinates at the surface. Kim Yeon nods at those words. Escaping the ancient force realm is similar to escaping the shallow depths. With immense attraction force and another attraction force pulling from outside, you can leave. Back then, I escaped the ancient force realm through the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect, but it will be difficult for you now. Both Jeon Myung-hoon and I wear bitter expressions at those words. The Grand Cultivator Association will probably not help me either. Even if I, the one they accuse as a hard tribe spy, were to ask them for help, they will probably do nothing but wish me a happy life. Quote. Is it possible to open a side path within the ancient force realm? However, she shakes her head at my words. If that were possible, the Black Ghost Valley would have established a branch here. It's possible to enter through a side path, but impossible to open one to leave. The deep sea prevents the formation of side paths. The ancient force realm is the only middle realm where the Black Ghost Valley couldn't establish a foothold. Then Seo Ran, looking at Yin Wei as if she's talking nonsense, speaks. Quote. That's not true. Yin Wei frowns at Seo Ran, then is startled upon seeing him in the black robes of Black Ghost Valley. What is this? There wasn't a Black Ghost Palace in my time. Haha, my master and I founded a branch here over 200 years ago. Yin Wei, flustered, bursts into anger. That's not the point. How dare you interrupt an elder? Be quiet. Seo Ran closes his mouth and steps back at Yin Wei's rebuke. Well, anyway, it's extremely difficult to leave the ancient force realm. Even grand cultivators and demon kings need external help to have a 50% chance of escaping. The other 50% of the time, the result is failing and becoming lost in the deep sea. I immediately cancel my plan to send Jeon Myung-hoon, an integration stage cultivator, to try and pull us out. So, Senior, are you saying we can't leave the ancient force realm right now? Well, for now, yes. But wait 2,000 to 3,000 years. By then, I'll have ascended a few people in the head realm Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder and risen them to the 4-axis stage. Then they can pull you out. Quote. In other words, there's no way but to wait. No, it's not even certain that Yin Wei will have raised cultivators at the Heavenly Being stage in the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect. The head realm has already become barren due to mass ascensions. Even with Yin Wei's grand efforts, it's likely they will only reach the Heavenly Being stage. They won't reach the 4-axis stage like Jin Baek Ho, Heo Gwak, or Azure Tiger Saint immediately after ascension. So, it could be at least 2,000 to 3,000 years at best, and 5,000 to 6,000 years at worst. I sigh deeply. A regular cultivator might be able to wait, but it's too long for me. In just 1,000 years, Kong Min-hee will transform 1/50th of the bright cold realm's stable realm into something like the Nether Ghost realm, and the Mad Lord will reach the quasi-star shattering stage. Jang Ik will also return and kill Kong Min-hee. That can't be allowed. Quote. Isn't there a faster way? There is. By using the forbidden technique created by the founder Golden Divine, you can combine the soul and flesh of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect disciples into a monster called Thunder Beast Lei Shou. Though it has no intelligence, in its initial immature state, it possesses the attraction force of a 4-axis stage monster. If I take control of the Thunder Beast's body and ascend, I can pull you all out to the bright cold realm within a month. Quote. It's an obvious question, but the disciples merged into the thunder beast cannot be reverted, right? That's correct. Jeon Myung-hoon glares at Yi Wei and asks. Ancestor, you wouldn't be considering such a thing, would you? Am I crazy? Even the founder only used that dreadful forbidden technique 5 times in his life. After using it, he even decreed, unless I personally permit it, this forbidden technique must never be used again. So, no, I can't do such a thing. Quote. That's a relief. I sigh. If Yi Wei had considered it, I would have had Kim Young-hoon's avatar in the head realm kill Yi Wei to stop it, so it's a pointless method anyway. Quote. Can't we descend to the lower realms through the flying immortal formation made with the salt crystal and then ascend again? Oh, if you descend to the lower realms with a salt crystal, you are guaranteed to ascend back to the ancient force realm. Quote. Whew, I sigh again. This won't do. For now, I'll try to contact the Grand Cultivator Association of the Human Race Grand Alliance. If necessary, it's time to even undergo verification by insulting Jang Ike's ideology to return. I have to return, save Kong Min-hee, and somehow seal off Seo Weol and Oh Hai Seo before Seo Weol finds his eye again. I ask Yi Wei, aside from escaping, is there a way to contact other dimensions? Contacting itself isn't difficult. You use an artifact called a supervisory mirror. It's made from supervisory jade and it allows you to send your will to other worlds you've visited and are connected to through attraction force. It also has a function like voice transmission to communicate with known individuals. Where can I usually get a supervisory mirror? She looks at Buk Hyung-hwa and her party. Usually, lords of sea domains have it. Ask if they obtained one while conquering a sea domain. Though the supervisory mirror is rare, it's not as rare as salt crystals, so they probably didn't destroy it. But Kim Young-hoon smiles awkwardly at those words. Quote. That, the palace lords seem to be requesting support using the mirrors, so I smashed them all and threw them into the deep sea. Quote. Ah, if I hadn't blocked their requests for support, we would have had a hard time. I sigh softly. There's only one way left. Quote. Is there anyone out there? Bring Yukyo here. We need both the salt crystals and the supervisory mirror, and since both are in the hands of palace lords, it makes sense to meet one nearby. To meet the ruler of the Weijung Sea domain. To meet the governing dragon palace lord, Yuk Rin, I call for his daughter, Yukyo. Ah, are you saying you'll send me back to my father? Yukyo, with a blank expression, kneels before me under Shiho's glare and asks. Yes. I plan to return you and the hostages from Governing Dragon Palace, and after receiving some compensation, establish friendly relations. Despite being a coy, she gapes like a goldfish. Kim Yeon, Kim Young-hoon, and I read her intent. She's only thinking about escaping. However, I have no intention of letting Yukyo go. I don't know what kind of trouble this scoundrel fraudster of a carp caused to be on bad terms with the Governing Dragon Palace Lord, but judging from her actions, it's likely to be her fault rather than the Governing Dragon Palace Lord's. The reason we even ended up hostile to the Governing Dragon Palace in the first place is because Yukyo had stolen Seo Ran's face and got caught by me. Governing Dragon Palace misunderstood and tried to rescue her, leading to the current conflict between us. I plan to return this troublesome koi to Governing Dragon Palace and seek reconciliation. I'm saying this just in case, but don't even think about escaping. As you know, our order has plenty of people to watch over you, and plenty of experts who can capture not nascent souls, but even heavenly being cultivators without a scratch. Quote. Ah, yes, I understand. I will follow. Yukyo bows her head to me, despite showing her true, completely different thoughts through her intent. Shiho, seeing this, glares at her. From what I see, that fish girl is certainly planning to escape again, senior. Therefore, we should lock her up in the Bukhyang fleet, where I, who knows her character well, can personally keep an eye on her. Eek. Yukyo shivers and glances at me nervously upon hearing Shiho's words. I nod and speak. Fine. However, while she will be left with the Bukhyang fleet, the ones who monitor her will be from our side. If I leave her to Shiho, Yukyo might end up as sashimi before we can return her to Governing Dragon Palace. Surveillance and escort personnel are necessary. And Yukyo, you must have a way to contact the Governing Dragon Palace, correct? You are a princess after all. I don't have a means of contacting them from my side. However, my father has placed a surveillance spell on my core. He will notice if my life is threatened. Surprisingly, it doesn't seem like she is lying about not having a means of contact. As I ponder how to contact them, Kim Young-hoon speaks up. I can go and ask for their opinion. How about that? Oh, there was that method as well. Please do. Good. Flash. Kim Young-hoon vanishes in a flash of light. Shortly after, he returns and places a small crystal orb before me. The governing Dragon Palace Lord gave me a linked magic artifact. Think of it as a video call. Before Kim Young-hoon even finishes speaking, the crystal orb emits light, revealing a dignified middle-aged man seated on a throne decorated with colorful coral. He wears an orange dragon robe made of scales, and on his belly, a dragon with a long beard is drawn. Are you the cult leader of the Wuji religious order that visited the Weijungsi domain? Greetings. This seat is the governing Dragon Palace Lord Yuk-rin. Nice to meet you for the first time, governing Dragon Palace Lord. I am the Wuji religious order cult leader, Wuji Ghost King, Seo Eun-yun. Yes, I heard from the Conqueror King's comrade that you wish to establish friendly relations with my palace and return my daughter and subordinates. That's right. While there was a bit of an unpleasant incident, it seems to have been a misunderstanding. I wish to resolve things peacefully. I speak to this point and then observe him cautiously just in case. As it's hard to see his intent and heart essence through this video call magic artifact, it's difficult to discern his true thoughts. He might take it as an insult and become even more enraged, sending his forces. Those who reach the integration stage have immense pride, and such a reaction is highly likely. However, governing Dragon Palace Yuk-rin bursts into laughter the next moment. Haha, good, I always welcome building relations with heroes like thee. Come to governing Dragon Palace. I shall prepare a banquet. I am thankful for taking care of my daughter. Through this incident, it seems I will need to clear up some misunderstandings with her through the cult leader's help. Ho ho. As he speaks, Yuk-rin casts a cold glance at Yuk-yo, who is kneeling behind. Though his eyes are cold, he speaks to her in a warm voice. My daughter, it's been a while since I've seen you. This father has found a good husband for you, so return through this incident and get married with the blessings of governing Dragon Palace. She doesn't respond, and Yuk-rin doesn't seem to expect an answer as he shifts his gaze away from her. Yuk-yo's intent becomes noticeably darker with incredible fear upon receiving her father's gaze. Their relationship seems to be more than just a misunderstanding. However, I have no reason to intervene in Yuk-yo's family matters. Did she say she was engaged to the pirate captain of the fighting ghost race? It seems to be the integration stage fighting ghost who fought Jaeon Myung-hoon when he invaded us. Although he appeared to have died from my great mountain-splitting emperor technique, I saw his soul move through the plane of soul, so he must have revived. Unless his cultivation has severely declined, Yuk-yo's fiancé is likely still that pirate captain. After exchanging a few polite words with the governing Dragon Palace Lord, I turn off the communication magic artifact. Summon the 13th Guardian Ghost King, Baek-rin. I call for Baek-rin and order him to place Yuk-yo on one of the Bukhyang fleet ships and monitor her. Then, the Twilight Domain sets out for governing Dragon Palace. Several days pass. Kugugugugu. I arrive at the center of the Weijungsi domain, on Governing Dragon Island, where the Governing Dragon Palace is located. Ho, is that Governing Dragon Island? Governing Dragon Island, where Governing Dragon Palace is situated, is a sky island, covered with countless corals. Like the Twilight Domain, Governing Dragon Island floats in the sky, solemnly overlooking the Weijungsi domain below. Kugugugugu. Me, the Wuji religious order's law protectors, all the guardian ghost kings, along with the key members of the Bukhyang fleet, gather at the edge of the Twilight Domain. Cooing. Soon, the edges of the Twilight Domain meet the edges of the Governing Dragon Island. Governing Dragon Palace, Governing Dragon Palace, standing in the center of Governing Dragon Island, is a citadel built from the bones of countless demon beasts. Indeed, the flesh and bones of the demon race that had reached a certain cultivation are inherently tougher than most ores and imbued with spiritual energy, so building a fortress from them isn't a bad idea. Shortly after, the turtle that attacked us previously walks up to the front of the Twilight Domain. Our Governing Dragon Palace welcomes the esteemed guests of the Wuji religious order. Please come in. The turtle, unable to meet my eyes, bows before me. Then, it grows larger, using its demon ability to create seats on its back for us to ride. I will escort you to the Governing Dragon Palace. Please, board. We silently climb onto the turtle's back. Yuk-yo looks like she wants to flee immediately, but with Baek-rin constantly monitoring her under my orders, she can't escape. The turtle swims through the heaven and earth spiritual energy in the air as if it were water, heading towards the governing dragon palace. Coo-goo-goo-goo. The doors of governing dragon palace open, and I look up at it. Usually, those in high positions in the cultivation world have powerful formations set up in their residences. Even if one has high cultivation, their combat power doesn't always correspond directly. There are indeed monsters like myself who can exert power several levels above their realm. Therefore, those lacking confidence in their combat power or with many people to protect typically have stronger and more dangerous formations in their main residences. However, despite being a place where an integration stage demon king resides, the governing dragon palace only has a basic barrier at the nascent soul level. Quote. This indicates that the governing dragon palace lord is either confident in his own strength or has nothing precious to protect. We ride on the turtle into the inner depth of governing dragon palace, all the way to the audience chamber of the governing dragon palace lord. After a while, coo-goo-goo-goo, we arrive in front of the governing dragon palace lord, Yuk-Rin, who is seated in the audience chamber. Yuk-Rin laughs heartily, rising from his throne to greet us. I warmly welcome thee, cult leader. I am pleased as well, palace lord. I dismount from the turtle and exchange greetings with him. However, I keep a certain distance after observing his heart essence. A greedy, suspicious, and cunning person. The governing dragon palace lord's heart essence is like a swamp filled with thorny vines. At the same time, the energy I sense from him is sufficient to rival the leader of the human race Grand Alliance, Jun Jae, though not as powerful as Hyeonium. Of course, I'm not too worried since this level of power is no longer a major concern for me, but he is definitely someone who would be willing to betray his allies at any moment. I should only take what I need to take and not get too close. After some superficial pleasantries, we proceed to the banquet hall with Yuk-Rin. Yuk-Rin doesn't even make eye contact with Yuk-Yo. He casually gestures to his subordinates of the governing dragon palace, who then take Yuk-Yo away, dragging her somewhere. Haha, as I wasn't sure what to prepare for a distinguished ghostly creature of the human race, I just prepared some sour dishes that I heard ghostly creatures enjoy. Splendid, I will eat them gratefully. My tongue tingles, looking at the table full of plum dishes. The guardian ghost kings who are ghosts all seem to be drooling, and Yin Wei also smacks her lips, seemingly enjoying the sour food. While dining with the palace lord, we exchange superficial polite courtesies. Ho-ho, you've raised your daughter splendidly. Thanks to her insight, we've received much help since coming to the ancient force realm. Haha, I'm so embarrassed I want to crawl into a shrimp hole. I was more worried my daughter might have caused some trouble. There was no such thing. Ho-ho, with her heart so beautiful, her fiancé seems to be a person of many blessings. In truth, it's only Yuk-Yo's behavior that's too much of a scoundrel. Her heart essence itself isn't on the sinister side like Yuk-Rin's. For a scam artist, her heart essence is quite pretty and pure. Praising her heart as I see it, I breach the subject, hoping to get introduced to Jin Ma-Yal, the pirate captain of the fighting ghost race, who is supposed to marry Yuk-Yo. That guy, I didn't get a good look at him, but he definitely reached the treading heavens stage. I'm interested as a martial artist, and curious about his connection with the Heart Tribe fighting ghost race that Seo Lee saw in the storage scroll of Lofty Dragon True Person. According to Kim Young-hoon, he only managed to steal his treasured weapon and couldn't kill him. He must possess something extraordinary. Moreover, since he roamed the ancient force realm as the pirate captain of the fighting ghost race for thousands of years, forming a relationship with him to gather information will be beneficial. However, in response to my statement said in hopes of being introduced to the pirate captain, an astonishing statement suddenly bursts from Yuk-Rin's mouth. Haha, that's definitely right. Though she is my daughter, she is truly a virtuous child. Since we're on the topic, what does the cult leader think of my daughter? Quote. This bastard, just what is he trying to push onto me? Chapter 365, Holding Hands 2. Upon Yuk-Rin's words, several members of the Wuji religious order tremble. Among them, Baek-Rin trembles so much with rage that his jaw quivers. It seems as if at any moment, he might burst out with, "How dare you speak such nonsense?" He probably would have done so if his opponent isn't at the integration stage. I laugh softly for a moment, pondering how to politely decline this proposal. Quote. I'm sorry, but this cult leader has no intention of taking a concubine at the time. Oh, is that so? That's unfortunate. To my great relief, Yuk-Rin, feeling a twinge of conscience himself, does not press further. Instead, He smiles kindly and explains his reasons. In truth, the reason this palace lord invited fellow distinguished noble in your order here was to propose an alliance. There aren't many alliances as strong as that formed by blood, so I intended to propose a marriage alliance. But it seems that's not possible. Ho, an alliance, you say? Why would you wish to form an alliance with us? Is it not so very obvious? While I am the ruler of a sea domain, for nearly 200 years, I've heard countless tales of the conqueror fleet's prestige. And that very conqueror fleet is affiliated with your order as mercenaries. Wanting to join the strong is something natural for living beings. Haha, that's quite flattering. But I fear that our order might only cause trouble for the governing dragon palace. When I politely decline, Yuk-Rin laughs heartily once again. It seems the cult leader finds the idea of joining forces with this Yuk uncomfortable. Well, to be honest, it is the truth that there are no benefits for your order even if you form a relationship with our palace. How about this then? Tang. When he snaps his fingers, attractive force envelops the area. The entire governing dragon island is cut off from the outside. While it can be seen as merely preventing surveillance, it can also mean he intends to attack us, making everyone tense up and watch him warily. However, Yuk-Rin does not attack us. He merely cast a few more spells, forming a barrier covering the entire governing dragon palace and a separate barrier isolating our very location. After employing these multiple layers of concealment techniques to block external gazes, he speaks in a secretive voice. Originally, I intended to discuss this after forming an alliance, but I will propose it to you first. A proposal? Yes. Since it's been a few days since you arrived in the ancient force realm, I believe you've grasped the situation here. That's right. A world submerged in an ocean of destroyed worlds, it is indeed fascinating. Haha. As expected, it must seem that way to those from other dimensions. Well, the crucial point is this. There's a high chance of obtaining the relics of destroyed worlds when diving into the deep sea. Indeed, the ancient force realm, aside from the risk of getting lost or encountering deep sea monsters, is a world of endless possibilities. The ancient force realm is literally a collection of destroyed worlds, and as he says there are countless opportunities to obtain treasures from the remnants of those destroyed worlds. Of course, it's just a possibility. Among the countless dimensional remnants, finding a proper relic is only feasible in the dimensions. At the very depths of the deep sea. Even then, re-entering a dimension one has previously entered is not simple. This is because, just like the sea of other worlds filled with water, the deep sea of the ancient force realm has dimensions flowing endlessly like water. So, even if you happen to enter a dimension filled with many treasures, it's purely luck as to whether you can enter that dimension again next time. I've heard as such. Therefore, even if one accidentally stumbles upon a dimension rich in treasures, it's common to come back with trivial items due to being unable to properly explore the dimension. However, deep sea islands, Shenhai Dao, are different. Upon hearing his words, Buk Hyonghwa, Kim Young-hoon, and the other members of the Buk Hyong fleet appear greatly surprised. Buk Hyonghwa, astonished, asks, "Is the governing dragon palace lord saying he knows the location of a deep sea island?" That's correct. Though the Conqueror King has ruled over a couple sea domains, it seems she has not heard of a deep sea island's location. Curious, I ask, what exactly are these deep sea islands? In response to my question, Yi Wei explains. Cult leader, as the name suggests, a deep sea island is an island located in the deep sea. Generally, most islands in the ancient force realm are fixed in place, floating on the surface of the deep sea. However, a deep sea island is fixed, within the deep sea, itself. Ho, astonishing. So, Palace Lord Yuk's words mean. Yes, that's correct. This Palace Lord knows the location of a deep sea island. In fact, only a few among the countless Palace Lords of this ancient force realm know of one. Once discovered, the deep sea island can be calmly explored and constantly challenged to continually obtain endless treasures. If one can fully possess it, they can turn it into the safest treasure vault known only to themselves. Yuk-Rin speaks with a subtle expression. To be frank, as the ruler of the Wei-Jung-Si domain, I have a general grasp of all happenings across the domain. I watched your battles from afar. Oh, the power distinguished noble used is crucial for conquering the deep sea island I discovered. Currently, the barrier surrounding the deep sea island can only be easily penetrated using distinguished noble's power. In other words, he needs my help to penetrate the barrier of the deep sea island. This is somewhat similar to Seo Ran's proposal. A long time ago, Seo Ran previously sought my help to pass through the barrier of the Nether crossing ship. And Seo Ran planned to betray me but had a change of heart. I glance at Seo Ran, and he gives me a puzzled look when our eyes meet. I shift my gaze back to Yuk Rin. Although there are many treasures said to be on a deep-sea island, there's no guarantee that they will be beneficial to our order, is there? On a previous visit to the deep-sea island, I saw numerous spiritual elixirs in book form written in the language of ghostly creatures, all lined up on the shelves of a library within the island. Wo Wang. Yuk Rin takes out a small ore from his sleeve and gently taps it, causing a holographic image to emerge from the ore. My eyes widen in surprise. Inside a dark library, on one of the bookshelves, there are countless books titled in the Netherworld language, such as Ritual Worship Scripture of Wealth Virtue, Ritual Worship Scripture of Longevity Virtue, and Ritual Worship Scripture of Love of Virtue. Each shelf is filled with numerous copies of a single type of book, except for one empty shelf. That empty shelf likely contained the Ritual Worship Scripture of Health Virtue. Given that you already built part of the 5 blessings axes and have some understanding of them, let me explain. In the Middle Realms, if such axes corresponding to a realm are collected like such and not used properly, they get reabsorbed by the corresponding realm. The books likely dissolved into the ancient force realm. Quote. The governing dragon palace does not need such axes. I, for one, am at the integration stage and have no need for more axes. Additionally, having more people with such axes would only threaten my position as the ruler of the Weijiangxi domain. However, considering that the relationship between the cult leader and the subordinates of the order does not seem to be that of a hierarchical structure, is this not an opportunity to get your hands on 4-axis stage forces armed with the 5 blessings axes all at once? He speaks to me with a subtle expression. Most importantly, as someone who is building the 5 blessings axis, the cult leader must know how difficult it is to obtain the love of virtue axis, the most difficult axis of axis, does he not? Haha, if you help this palace lord, I am willing to give you the entire library. Of course, I don't know what other treasures might be inside, but any treasure you find will be yours. This palace lord only needs to obtain 2 specific items from the interior. Quote. I look at the holographic image of the library. It's real. Yuk Rin isn't lying about anything regarding the deep-sea island. The existence of such an island, the need for my help to enter it, and the abundance of ritual worship scriptures to build the 5 blessings axes within that island, all of it is, entirely, true. If so, it is only right to accept immediately. With Yi Wei's explanation, not only I and the senior members of the Wuji religious order, but also the senior members of the Bukhyang fleet now understood the significance of the 5 blessings axes and the treasures containing such axes. Everyone holds their breath in awe. However, I exchange glances with Kim Young-hoon. Suspicious. But it seems Yuk Rin is aware of my concern about betrayal, as he immediately presents something black in front of us. It's a contract. I read the contract he handed over. The paper contains the details of an alliance between the Wuji religious order and the governing dragon palace written in the language of the demon race. This contract is no ordinary document. I gaze at the material of the contract, which is made of some unknown leather, with gleaming eyes. Especially Bukhyang Hwa, who seems to recognize something, shows a startled expression as she looks at the contract. Does the Conqueror King know about this? I turn to her and ask, while Yuk Rin chuckles and says, haha, this seat will explain. This contract is made from a material called black ancient paper, which is rarely found in the deep sea of the ancient force realm. To be precise, it's not a genuine black ancient paper, but a replica. However, even a replica holds the same functions as a genuine one. A contract written on black ancient paper allows for a higher existence to act as a mediator, ensuring the contract's effectiveness as long as that existence is alive. The higher mediator is. The being registered on this black ancient paper is none other than Sacred Master He Lin of the ancient force realm. The Sacred Master guarantees our alliance. I carefully examine the alliance contract. Unlike the scammer Yuk Yo, the black ancient paper presented by Yuk Rin doesn't contain any particularly disadvantageous clauses for us. The contract itself is rather lenient. It mostly prohibits unilateral betrayal and requires mutual protection in case of a crisis. There are no additional clauses in fine print, nor are there any other papers attached to the contract. There is really nothing suspicious about it. If there is something suspicious, it's just one thing. This guy, governing Dragon Palace Lord Yuk Rin. It's just him. Is he thinking of stabbing me in the back? While I didn't notice through the video call magic artifact, meeting him in person makes it clear. As if he's scared people won't recognize him as Yuk Yo's father, he is full of wriggling intent with the desire to definitely scam me. I glance at the jade prayer beads on Yukrin's arm. A magic artifact to block the eyes of the Heart tribe. I had seen something similar from Seo Wei-ol before. It seems it was prepared to block the eyes of the fighting ghost race pirate captain, but it isn't sufficient to block the eyes of me or Kim Young-hoon, allowing me to read everything. Kim Young-hoon, reading the bastard's hidden intentions, asks me in Heart language. Would it be right to blow his head off? Twitch. Although Yukrin can't detect our Heart language, his face tenses slightly as if the heaven and earth spiritual energy is warning him of something suspicious. I chuckle and let my comrades see the entire contract. Our order makes major decisions by consulting with the law protector and our higher-ups, so I ask for your understanding. That's entirely reasonable. While outwardly maintaining a composed expression and comfortable controlling the heaven and earth spiritual energy, I keep a wary eye on Yukrin, who only has thoughts on backstabbing me. I ask Buk Hyunghwa, who seems knowledgeable about black ancient paper. Do you know the differences between a genuine black ancient paper and a replica? There isn't much difference. The replica can only register beings up to a true person as a mediator, while the genuine one can use even true immortals as mediators. The genuine one is extremely valuable, and I've heard that only the sacred master possesses one in the ancient force realm. She examines the black ancient paper in my hand and explains. It doesn't seem like there's any trickery in the contract itself. I show the contract to Buk Hyunghwa, Kim Young-hoon, Jaeon Myung-hoon, Hong Fan, and Yi In-wei, and they all nod in agreement that there is nothing suspicious about the contract itself. The contract's content is indeed just a prohibition of betrayal and a mutual protection treaty, so there's no way to be deceived solely by this contract. But I have no choice but to contemplate. Even if the contract is fine, if the person making the contract is a scammer, it's bound to be a scam contract. Do you have any records that show the entire deep sea island? Here, these are all the records and exploration logs this palace lord made while exploring the deep sea island. Yukrin willingly hands me a crystal orb. When he taps the crystal ball, countless illusions containing information about the deep sea island rise in the air. Countless scenes float in the air, seemingly depicting Yukrin's memories of exploring the deep sea island. Then, I and Buk Hyunghwa, along with Seo Ran, Song Jin, and Kim Young-hoon, focus on one particular illusion among those that record the entire deep sea island. Twitch. I widen my eyes and stare at the illusion. Does this deep sea island perhaps have a name? He smiles and replies. If you read my exploration log, you'll know that the deep sea island was once called Penglai Island Penglai Dao. In front of my eyes appears the deep sea island named Penglai Island. Penglai Island is covered by a translucent spherical barrier emitting a pure white light, and at the center of Penglai Island is a colossal mountain occupying half the island's area. That mountain is a pure white salt mountain. Yukrin chuckles, opening his mouth as if to explain something. At that moment, a message talisman flies urgently towards Yukrin. Upon receiving it, his face twists in frustration. With a face barely suppressing his anger, he stands up. It's embarrassing to say, but it seems the daughter that distinguished noble escorted back has run away again. As she couldn't have gone far, I will quickly catch her and come back. Haha, I deeply apologize, but please wait a moment. Grinding his teeth, Yukrin leaves the room, and I speak to Baekrin. 13th Guardian Ghost King, Sacred Orchid Princess Yukyo was originally your responsibility to escort. It would be unseemly for the host to take action personally. Escort Sacred Orchid Princess back together with the governing Dragon Palace Lord. Yes, cult leader. Haha, there's really no need to help, but it's this cult leader's kindness, so please accept it. Thank you very much. Yukrin leaves the room, grinding his teeth in shame, and Baekrin follows him. At least with Baekrin following, he won't kill his daughter. I felt it from the moment I arrived, but Yukrin seems to have no familial affection for Yukyo. Judging by the anger in Yukrin's intent, there's a chance he might actually kill Yukyo. Though she is a scamming, scoundrel Koi, she provided us with the basic knowledge of the ancient force realm, so I can't let her just be killed by her father. Soon after, Yukrin's presence disappears from governing Dragon Island, and I snap my fingers to take control of the formation Yukrin has set up. Teestsutut. The wonderfully mysterious innate heart cannon lays the Mad Lord's circuit over the barrier, temporarily creating a space even Yukrin can't monitor. Now then, I'd like to hear everyone's opinions. Given the situation, it's best to hold a quick meeting. Buk Hyunghwa speaks first. There is nothing suspicious about the contract itself. However, Kim Young-hoon frowns and shakes his head. You saw it too, didn't you? Inside that governing dragon palace lord's head, he has nothing but thoughts of backstabbing us. Of course, the reward he offered is real. His words make the faces of the guardian ghost kings present fill with anger. How dare he, attempting to deceive the cult leader. Like father, like daughter. Cult leader, we must destroy governing Dragon Island and turn that palace lord into fish soup. For a while, the guardian ghost kings vent their anger until Hong Fan quietly speaks up. Silence. At Hong Fan's command, the guardian ghost kings all shut their mouths, and he calmly looks at Seo Ran and asks. Does noble Seo Ran have anything to say? Seo Ran nods and speaks. Firstly, senior, as you have also seen, that was a salt mountain. And the energy wave we saw in governing Dragon Palace Lord's memory is undoubtedly the same as the energy wave of Sir Cheongmin Ryong. Since Yuk Rin is of the Earth tribe, the illusion based on his memory also includes the flow of heaven and earth spiritual energy. Indeed, it is so. That salt mountain is the same as Cheongmin Ryong's. In other words, it's a relic left by the owner of Salt Mountain. Kim Young-hoon nods at Seo Ran's words. Quote. As expected, I thought it was related to Cheongmin Ryong, it will certainly help in rescuing him. Hong Fan nods and says. For me, seeing those numerous axes makes me think that bringing them to our order will grant us immense power. That's right. Moreover, there's the ritual worship scripture of love of virtue. The axis of love of virtue is more difficult to obtain than other axes. It's to the point that even Yi Wei has yet to obtain the love of virtue axis. Yi Wei opens her mouth. So, the current situation is this. Yuk Rin is very likely to backstab us, but the rewards are too enticing to ignore. Is this not it? That's correct. Then there is a very simple solution. What is it? As I look at Yi Wei with a puzzled expression, she smiles and explains. It is a very fundamental strategy of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect passed down from the times of the founder. The founder said that this method could reveal the true intentions of anyone. Although I show a slightly uneasy look at the words, passed down from the times of the founder, she continues without concern. Right now, at this moment, capture that suspicious fish and implant the ascetic lightning curse banner, Ku Xing Lei Zhou Fan, in his head and torture him. Ah, since you're skilled in curses, you can perform even more diverse tortures. Once captured, continue inflicting pain, and he will reveal all his hidden cards and become very cooperative. Quote. What are you waiting for? All guardian ghost kings, prepare to conquer governing Dragon Palace. Since that fellow invited us, let us collapse the barrier from the inside, capture his fortress, and lay a trap. When he returns, we will capture and torture him. Uoo. Chapter 366. Holding Hands 3. Quote. I contemplate with cold eyes. Yi Wei, with her hands on her hips, looks at me with questioning eyes and asks in a small voice. There's no time, Seo Eun-yun. You need to use your specialty to remodel this fortress and create traps, do you not? Usually, I would take Yi Wei's words as mere reference and act in the opposite way. Her actions are largely influenced by Yang Soo-jin's conduct, and I am the polar opposite of Yang Soo-jin. But honestly, Yuk Rin, that guy can't be trusted. His blatant scheming for betrayal can't be left unchecked. After some deliberation, I make a quick decision. I won't turn the governing Dragon Palace into a trap. No, Eun-yun, what do you mean by? There won't be a need to create traps. As expected of the cult leader. Yi Wei, who is about to complain, quickly changes her attitude and cheers upon hearing my words. I stand up and look at Buk Hyung-hwa before asking. In the Conqueror King's opinion, can the Conqueror King's fleet subdue the governing Dragon Palace Lord? She ponders for a moment before responding. If the entire fleet was brought here, it would be possible. But with only a third of the fleet's strength, it's difficult. Is that calculation including Kim Young-hoon? Yes, it is. The usual fleet strength is calculated including the presence of surpassing radiant divine demon Kim Young-hoon. I see. What if we add our order's integration stage 6 extremes Ghost King? Buk Hyung-hwa briefly glances at Jaeon Myung-hoon, seemingly calculating the total strength. In that case, it's possible. However, to handle the governing Dragon Palace Lord's subordinates, we need someone proficient in fighting multiple enemies. At that, I look at Oh Yun-sok and Kim Yeon. Both are adept in fighting multiple opponents. Given that Kim Yeon seems to have a slight tension with Buk Hyung-hwa, sending Oh Yun-sok would be. I'll go. Unexpectedly, Kim Yeon volunteers. I feel uneasy sending this fool alone. It's only right that I help as the older sister. She looks at Buk Hyung-hwa with an attitude as if she is going to assist her clumsy younger sibling, and Buk Hyung-hwa lets out a snicker as if she finds it absurd. Shouldn't I be the one helping you? Honestly, our fleet's strength surpasses yours. Oh really? Is that why you were caught by me? The two glare at each other, their eyes blazing with hostility. Just a few days ago, it looked like things were getting better. It seems they have reverted to their old ways. Or maybe not. I chuckle wryly, reading the emotions between them. Quote. Alright, then the volunteering mysterious bizarre ghost King Kim Yeon will support the Bukhyong fleet. As I stand up and snap my fingers, the barriers across the entire Governing Dragon Island collapse under attraction force. Governing Dragon Island is thrown into chaos. 6 Extremes Ghost King Jaeon Myung-hoon and mysterious bizarre ghost King Kim Yeon will support the Conqueror King Bukhyong-hwa's fleet and assist in the Bukhyong fleet and surpassing Radiant Divine Demons battle to capture the Governing Dragon Palace Lord Yukrin alive. Received. It's quite amusing to capture the host as guests, but what else can be done? Now, even if I'm stabbed in the back, it's no longer just my concern. If I am deceived, it would mean the entire Wuji religious order is deceived. Even with the ability to foresee others' hidden intentions, I can't gamble with the order's safety. The risks need to be eliminated in advance. Kugugugugu. I raise my momentum and command the ghostly creatures of the Twilight Domain in the language of the Nether Ghost Realm. Occupy it. 18 heads sprout from my shoulders, and my body turns black. Woo, ooh, ah, countless ghostly creatures howl as they begin to engulf Governing Dragon Island. Kugugugugu. Wee Yun, a half-human, half-fish demon beast at the early Chi building stage who lives peacefully on Governing Dragon Island, is collecting clams and returning home as usual. Normally, she would have returned quickly, but today she has to take a long detour around her usual path. This is because today, esteemed guests are visiting Governing Dragon Island, and a public notice has been issued stating that a third-class citizen, like her from the half-fish race should not be seen by these distinguished guests. Kudik, Woodoo-doo-dook. Having gathered clams, she sets foot on the ground and begins to transform her body. The half-human, half-fish form of the half-fish race has a unique trait. They can move freely on both land and water without using any special abilities. Her lower body, which was in the form of a fish, transforms into human legs, while her upper body remains that of a fish. Wee Yun, now in her terrestrial form, hums through her fish mouth as she carries the clams and takes the long way home. Although it's a longer journey than usual, it's fine. In fact, it's more peaceful because she can avoid the main road where second-class citizen demon beasts who often pick on her are located. Wee Yun ponders about what to cook for her family with the clams she has collected today. Her village, a settlement of third-class citizens known as the Abandoned Fish Village, is peaceful. Even though her half-fish race is the most discriminated against among the third-class citizens, the village is kind enough to always call upon her family for help when needed and share leftover food. She thinks that Abandoned Fish Village is a truly good place. Kia, woo, ooh. Suddenly, the entire Governing Dragon Island is covered in dark clouds, and terrifying ghosts begin to fill the sky. Shocked by this bizarre phenomenon, Wee Yun hurriedly runs towards her home. Due to a restraint on flying techniques for anyone below second-class citizens on Governing Dragon Island, she is physically incapable of flying. Finally, when Wee Yun reaches her village, she sees it engulfed in flames. Black ghosts and grotesque cursed dolls are setting the village ablaze with ghost fire. Kia, Gua, Why Yun ah, run away, don't come here, her parents shout frantically upon seeing her. She drops the clams she gathered today and steps back in shock. Kia, by the cult leader's command. Hia, the cult leader has ordered to verify the population and issue identity plaques on Governing Dragon Island. Everyone, gather for a moment. The cult leader has commanded us to serve with utmost kindness and ensure the residents do not feel anxious. Let's burn down the old village for disinfection and build new structures. KKKKK, these lowly demon races of the ancient force realm. We'll show them a taste of the construction techniques of the Nether Ghost realm. The ghosts, speaking in the incomprehensible language of the Nether Ghost realm, shriek horrifically as they round up the villagers of Abandoned Fish Village and begin burning down the buildings, constructing something bizarre. Wee Yun flees. The hideous laughter of the ghosts and cursed dolls have completely overturned her peaceful daily life. Filled with utmost terror, she runs with her frail human legs. And then, amidst the bushes, eerie puppet soldiers appear. The cursed dolls with rotating heads shout bizarre words at Wee Yun. Little lady, are you lost? It's dangerous to wander alone. Miss, let us take you to your parents. Where is your home? Kyok. Wee Yun screams and runs again. The cursed dolls shriek in the dreadful language of the nether ghost realm as they chase her. Hey, miss, that's the direction of the deep sea. Come back. Gee, go away. Go awa. Ah. She stumbles at the edge of Governing Dragon Island. With tears in her eyes, Wee Yun falls into the deep sea. She then sees countless ships with flags written in the language of the ancient Force realm. The flags on the ships read, Wuji Religious Order Subordinate Bukhyang Fleet. Ah, I see. The devilish cult from another world, and the Conqueror King's Conqueror Fleet. Wee Yun falls into the deep sea, capturing in her eyes the main culprits who have ruined her daily life. The story of how Wee Yun, a half-human, half-fish, falls into the deep-sea island hidden below Governing Dragon Palace, where she would later gain fortuitous encounters and become a warrior burning with vengeance against the Wuji religious order, is a tale for another time. Meanwhile, leaving her behind, the Bukhyang fleet sets sail. Kugugugugu. Bukhyang Hua, the commander of the Bukhyang fleet, glances uncomfortably at Kim Yi and beside her. Instead of just playing around, why don't you capture the subordinates of the Governing Dragon Palace escaping from Governing Dragon Island? Oh my, sorry, but it's better to capture them when they regroup later to assist their palace lord. Catching them while they're scattered and escaping now is less effective. Ha, such an excuse instead of thinking of quickly capturing even one more is rather disgraceful. I can't hear the words of someone who clung to me, crying, wah wah, very well. Bukhyang Hua's face turns red. That. I never did that. Okay. Why are you in the commanding room anyway? How is it okay for your memory to become like a carp's when we're going to catch one? Did I not say that just like the last time I broke into your commanding room, the subordinates of Governing Dragon Palace can do the same, so I'm here to protect you? That was an exception, and I said no protection was needed. And it's not a carp but a koi. Isn't your intelligence more like a carp's? Kim Yeon and Bukhyang Hua glare at each other, gritting their teeth. Just drive your fleet better, Wawa. Who are you calling Wawa? Don't call me that. Well, I wasn't talking to you but to Wawa, who clung to me crying, Wawa, so why are you taking offense? Didn't you say it wasn't you? Bukhyang Hua, with her face flushed red, glares at Kim Yeon and eventually focuses on commanding the fleet. Kugugugugu. And a while later, in the vision of Bukhyang Hua and Kim Yeon appears Yuk Rin, wearing a scarlet dragon robe, and Baek Rin. And also Yuk Yo, whose hair is being grabbed by Yuk Rin. Yuk Rin, holding Yuk Yo by the hair, looks back with an expressionless face. Yuk Yo is covered in blood all over her body, unable to even maintain flight and hangs from Yuk Rin's grip. Baek Rin looks on, seemingly aghast at the sight. Yuk Rin locks eyes with the Bukhyang fleet and asks. The Conqueror King should be enjoying the banquet. Why have you come all the way here? It seems a bit excessive to bring such equipment just for a mere stroll. At those words, from the first Hyang ship of the Bukhyang fleet. On its bow stands a man in black martial attire. The surpassing radiant divine demon Kim Young-hoon replies. Haha, I feel quite apologetic to the Governing Dragon Palace Lord, but the Bukhyang fleet and Wuji religious order have just concluded negotiations for us to take over this Weijungsi domain. However, Yuk Rin isn't particularly surprised by this. Well, I expected this the moment I saw that person's face. He recalls the face of Yian Wei, the military strategist of the Wuji religious order. Though she seems unaware of him, Yuk Rin is well acquainted with her face. About 40,000 years ago, when Yuk Rin just reached the heavenly being stage. The infamous human from the bright cold realm who turned the ancient force realm upside down. The betrayal king, Jin Wei. After learning about the 5 blessings axis from the Black Ghost Palace in the Nether Ghost Realm, she betrayed them and came to the ancient Force Realm. She then betrayed the faction that taught her about the situation in the ancient Force Realm, and repeatedly switched sides while building the Health Axis. Eventually, after fully building her axis, she escaped through her sect in the Bright Cold Realm. I heard she then even betrayed her sect and fiancé. Although her reputation has faded significantly over the past 40,000 years, Yuk Rin clearly remembers her face and notoriety. The crazy human who betrayed my uncle's Cherry Blossom Dragon Palace, which was the force that helped her settle in the ancient Force Realm, and stole 1,000,000 ancient stones before fleeing. Yuk Rin's paternal uncle, Cherry Blossom Dragon Palace Lord Yuk Ung, was already nearing the end of his lifespan and didn't have much time left. He left the world in lingering shock not long after due to her betrayal. If Conqueror King Baekhyunghwa is known for stabilizing the sea domains after conquering them, Jin Wei is infamous for causing chaos wherever she goes like a loach. Starting from the time when she rampaged to obtain spiritual medicine to boost her fiancé's vitality and captured the 4-axis stage eel racist chieftain, to taking the bear bile of the great bear racist chieftain who helped hide her. Jin Wei, who seemed to live solely for endless schemes, deception, and betrayal, was dubbed the Betrayal King in the ancient Force realm. Knowing of the Betrayal King's notorious reputation, Yuk-rin anticipated that the Wuji religious order would eventually betray him. Thus, he prepared to backstab Yin Wei first. But as expected, the human race indeed lives up to their reputation. To think they would corner me like this before I could strike first. And that too, while being a guest I had invited, no less. Yuk-rin's eyes twitch as he addresses Kim Young-hoon. Quote, I did not expect the forces of the famed and proud Conqueror King to oppress this palace lord as such. Wasn't the Conqueror fleet known for targeting only tyrannical palace lords? That's correct. Kim Young-hoon nods. Then are you saying this palace lord has committed such tyranny in the Weijungsi domain? That is not the case. What, then are you saying you are oppressing this palace lord without any reason? There is a misunderstanding. While it is true that we oppose tyrannical palace lords, there is one more reason we are opposing the governing dragon palace lord. Chatched. Golden light begins to emanate from Kim Young-hoon's entire body. That reason is that anyone who tries to oppose us first is unconditionally conquered. The reason we, the Conqueror fleet, have conquered 3 sea domains is not just because of tyranny but because they threatened us first. And the same goes for you, governing Dragon Place Lord. As Yuk-rin locks eyes with Kim Young-hoon, he realizes something. Quote, I see. I've heard much about you, surpassing radiant divine demon. They say you practice a unique method to conceal your aura. But it seems, you're of the same kind as the owner of Salt Bones' ship. Salt Bones' Yangu ship. The notorious pirate fleet of the ancient Force realm formed by the Fighting Ghost race and several other brutal races. The flagship of the Fighting Demon Pirate Gang. The one who used the rare and precious salt crystals to form the entirety of the Salt Bones ship's keel, the Fighting Demon Pirate Gang's captain, Jin Ma-yeol. Yuk-rin caresses his bracelet. Can you read my heart essence even now? I have maximized the capabilities of my magic artifact. Kim Young-hoon draws his sword in silence. Yuk-rin clicks his tongue. You can see it, it seems. You appear superior to that Jin Ma-yeol. Was the name of the technique he practiced called fighting steps? But Kim Young-hoon's eyes twitch as if in displeasure. Mine is entirely different from his. He practices fighting steps, while mine is called martial arts. Is it different? Of course. To begin with, Kim Young-hoon lowers his surpassing radiant saber with a look of irritation. That person is not a martial artist. Quote, question mark. Of course he isn't. That person is of the Fighting Ghost race. Quote, Enough. You won't understand anyway. Just surrender quietly. Ha. Yuk-rin sneers as he begins to envelop his entire body with his domain. Arrogant thing, you dare to oppress this seat. Goo. Yuk-rin's entire body swells as he transforms into a massive scarlet dragon clad by his domain. Though he manipulates the heaven and earth spiritual energy around him as if agitated, his inner thoughts remain cold and calculating. I've covered my body with my domain and maximized the activation of my magic artifact. No matter how skilled he is in fighting steps, it will be difficult to read my emotions now. As expected, Kim Young-hoon stops reading his intent and begins gathering his fighting energy. Yuk-rin clicks his tongue, his eyes cold despite his seemingly agitated demeanor. Surpassing radiant divine demon Kim Young-hoon. The Baekhyung fleet of the Conqueror King. Moreover, the integration stage grand cultivator who nearly overwhelmed Jin Ma-yeol, along with that human woman who seems unusual. I'm going to lose. He casually throws Yuk-yo aside and spits out a beam of light from his mouth. Kim Young-hoon's golden saber splits Yuk-rin's breath. Watching Kim Young-hoon and Jaeon Myung-hoon flying towards him, Yuk-rin ponders. It doesn't matter anyway, I'll let them win today. If I can infiltrate deeper into their ranks, if I can enter Punglai Island, I will emerge as the ultimate victor. Sign here, Yuk-rin. The Baekhyung fleet capture Yuk-rin alive and present him with the black ancient paper. The original contract terms were entirely revised by Yin Wei. As a result, Yuk-rin, who was supposed to be our ally, had his status reduced to nearly that of a slave. In the end, in front of everyone, he signs the contract that reduces him to a quasi-slave status under the Wuji religious order in the name of Sacred Master He Lin of the Ancient Force Realm. I question Yuk-rin. Yuk Rin, you consistently hid something from us and tried to backstab us. This cult leader can read heart essence, so reveal what you have been hiding. Hoo, quite impressive. Are you using a mind-reading technique? Quote. It's similar, but let's just say it is. He sighs deeply and tells us the truth. Quote. I intended to betray both the Wuji religious order and you. Why? But before I can pursue the reason, Yi Wei shouts beside me. Her intent jumps as if she realizes something about Yuk Rin. Cult leader. There's no need to listen to him. The demon race of the ancient force realm is infamous for betrayal, deception, and trickery. It's in their nature, so knowing the reason is meaningless. Instead, it's more important to find out how he intended to betray us. Did she suffer a lot in the ancient force realm? Before, following the advice of Yi Wei, who has experience with the ancient force realm, I change my question. You proposed an alliance through the black ancient paper, so how were you planning to betray us? Yuk Rin grins widely and explains. Once we enter Penglai Island, the power of the black ancient paper nearly vanishes. Within the island's barrier, countless oaths and contracts lose their effectiveness. So you intended to use Penglai Island's uniqueness to betray us? Something like that. In that case, I continue the interrogation of Yuk Rin, who is now bound by a slave contract. Wei Yun, the young girl from the half-fish race, stirs and opens her eyes. It's a dark place. Didn't I jump into the deep sea? Contrary to the deep sea formed by dimensions, she finds herself surrounded by real water. The area is filled with salty water. Transforming her lower body into that of a fish, Wei Yun begins to explore. Eventually, she realizes she has fallen into a lake-like place and swims towards its edge. Where is this? At the edge of the lake, she sees a gigantic statue of a sea dragon, Hai Long. Translator notes. Mysterious ancient paper, black ancient paper. Chapter 367, Holding Hands 4. The interrogation of Yuk Rin has concluded. There are two methods Yuk Rin intended to use to betray us. The first is the characteristic that all oaths and contracts disappear upon entering Penglai Island. The second is another characteristic of Penglai Island's interior. Truly bizarre. According to Yuk Rin, the interior of Penglai Island is a kind of massive illusion formation. Upon entering this illusion formation, the internal world of the formation reconstructs to match us, and we become characters within that illusion, only able to explore the formation using the powers and abilities that those characters possess. The power granted to these characters is said to be the power originally held by their race. For me and others, it would be the power of humans. And for Shiho and Yuk Rin, they would undoubtedly gain the power of fox and dragon. In other words, he planned to betray us by using Penglai Island's inherent characteristic of nullifying all oaths and contracts and the characteristic of nullifying all powers except the original power held by the respective race, granted by the island's formation. We could have been in quite a predicament. However, even if we were deceived and entered Penglai Island as he intended, Kim Young-hoon and I might not have been in significant danger. Having everything except our original human powers being nullified and being unable to use any cultivation techniques. We can still use martial arts anyway. Kugugugugu. It's currently night in the ancient force realm. Unlike the nether ghost realm, where day and night are distinguished only by the presence or absence of constellations, the ancient force realm has a clear distinction between day and night. A ring-like structure stretches across the sky of the ancient force realm, emitting a light similar to moonlight, creating the atmosphere of a dim and dark night. After conquering governing Dragon Island, we are currently heading to another sea domain to join forces with the Bukhyang fleet, with Yuk Rin captured. I will likely see Song Jin soon. Standing at the edge of the Twilight Domain, I turn back after gazing at the night sea of the ancient force realm. The ghosts of the nether ghost realm, more energetic at night than during the day, are now enthusiastically throwing a ghostly feast. Having just returned from volunteer work on governing Dragon Island, everyone seems to feel a sense of fulfillment. As I watch them, I fall into thought. If the condition for fixing my regression point is truly to go to and return from the head realm, should I go once more? The head realm is an extremely terrifying place. Just sensing the presence of the owner of Salt Mountain in that place fills me with immense fear and despair. That world is full of unfathomable malice and ominousness. But, if they were to disappear, I can't even imagine how much my heart would ache. It first started as just a religious order to build the longevity axis, but they have now become a part of me. Wo Wang, my consciousness sweeps through the Twilight Domain. The ghostly creatures boasting about their volunteering activities on governing Dragon Island and holding a feast. Yi and Wei's split soul, temporarily leaving Yi and Jin's body, being fervently praised by the guardian ghost kings. Wei Shihun and Hua engrossed in making their second generation. Baek Rin tending to Yukyo's wounds. Shiho getting a massage from Seo Ran. Jaeon Myung-hoon practicing cultivation methods with Yi and Jin in a private room. Oh Yun-sok training the ghostly creatures who want to become stronger using the Azure Heaven creation sect's methods. Kim Yeon and Buk Hyung-hwa drunkenly fighting, pulling each other's hair. It's peaceful, no matter how ominous the head realm may be. If going there again means I can continue to be with them, I will go anytime. After investigating the Salt Mountain on Punglai Island and finding a way to heal Cheongman Ryong. Descend to the head realm and, if possible, fix my regression point. Yes, if I can go to the head realm in this life, let's go again. Resolving myself like so, I look around at the night sea of the ancient force realm. Wo Wang, the night sea of the ancient force realm is incredibly mysterious. Shuwa, the sound of the waves crashing echoes. Within that sound, the voices of countless beings can be heard. Simultaneously, beyond the multitude of voices, the entire sea of the ancient force realm faintly glows. Murmur. Above the undulating seawater, countless shadows appear and disappear repeatedly. How long have I been watching this? Yun, you shouldn't stare at the deep sea of the ancient force realm for too long at night. Young-hoon Hung Nim. I turn around to see Kim Young-hoon calling me. He has a bruise around one eye and his clothes are torn in several places. Chi, it seems he is healing himself with a healing talisman. I thought you didn't get hurt while fighting Yuk Rin. Oh, this injury is from Oh Yun-sok. Pardon, Oh Yun-sok and I were drinking, and his cultivation method seemed similar to a path I briefly pursued before, so I asked him how he cultivated. Then, the guy offered to train me, and when I told him to go ahead, this crazy bastard tied me to a pillar and... I see. It seems Kim Young-hoon was subjected to the training method of the Great Azure Heaven creation sect for a while. A Kim Young-hoon of a previous life had once been training in martial arts when he discovered a part of it that was connected to demon beast methods and briefly tried to pursue that path. It seems the Kim Young-hoon of this cycle had also briefly attempted that path. But you didn't beat up Yun-sok Hung Nim and escape. It's fine to take a few hits from a close younger brother. It wouldn't be right to get angry and draw my blade over it, no. Then why, when it was me? Because if I don't draw my blade against you, I feel like I might die. Kim Young-hoon laughs heartily, and after his wounds heal due to the talisman, he removes it and places his hand on his saber hilt. You want to go at it again? Haha, my beloved weapons are all broken. If I go against you again, I'll just get beaten up without being able to resist. I'm here for another reason. Bo Wang, he draws his saber from the sheath and swings it in the air. He doesn't particularly slash or attack me. There isn't even a hint of killing intent, but for an instant, I see an illusion of the world splitting before my eyes from his swing. While fighting you, I glimpsed the next realm. Exclamation mark. I shudder at his words. There is only one realm Kim Young-hoon could have reached. Second step before the throne. The same realm as Jang Ik. I'm frighteningly startled, but then I think of Kim Young-hoon's trait and chuckle. Then, in about 50 years, I'll be able to learn from you, Young-hoon Hung Nim. Well, that's not it. Then in 100 years. Not that either. I can wait a few hundred years. However, Kim Young-hoon seems to become gloomier at my hopeful questions. Hung Nim. For now, he speaks with a bitter expression. Even with my talent, I'll have to diligently polish and refine this enlightenment for hundreds of years before there's a chance to reach the next realm. Haha, it seems Young-hoon Hung Nim hasn't yet adapted to the sense of time in the cultivation world. But, he bites his lips and looks at me with desolate eyes. I cannot reach the next realm. I stare at Kim Young-hoon for a moment before bursting into laughter. It isn't mockery, but genuine amusement. How many times have I heard Kim Young-hoon say that? Hung Nim, believe in yourself. You can do it. By now, it's practically a given that Kim Young-hoon will reach the next realm after saying such words. Of course, in the past, Kim Young-hoon was often hindered by his lifespan. But now that he has reached this stage and gained an additional 10,000 years, it's enough. However, Kim Young-hoon's expression does not brighten. Silently, he raises his saber. I watch him for a moment before drawing my colorless glass sword and letting it hang down. Let's just purely compete in martial arts. Sounds good. In the next moment, Kim Young-hoon and I rush at each other, exchanging martial techniques. We both refrain from using excessive internal energy or spiritual power. He and I compete purely by channeling the vital energy that flows through our human bodies into our blades as we contest our skills. As we exchange moves for a while, our movements gradually become more intense. Kim Young-hoon spins from right to left, swinging his saber. The tip of his saber grazes my cheek. My sword slashes upwards from above my right foot, cutting Kim Young-hoon and leaving a vertical scratch beneath his eye. Tadat, tadadat. Even though we only use the basic vitality of our bodies, the amplification of power is astounding because of our high level of mastery. Kim Young-hoon and I move from one end of the twilight domain to the other in an instant, dancing as if to slice each other's shadows. He's too fast to catch, and I'm too free to hit. As we roam around the entire twilight domain for some time, I suddenly find myself out of the twilight domain and over the vast void, above the night sea of the ancient force realm. Of course, since we can move even by stepping on the void, it's not a problem for our duel. Coo-goo-goo-goo-goo. Before we know it, the twilight domain is passing by us who are fiercely clashing blades in midair, gradually advancing towards the horizon of the sea domain. Leaving the Weijung sea domain behind, we head towards the end of the sea domain that looks like an air bubble. Towards the wall, formed by the dome sky. Tadat. As I exchange blows with him for a while, I momentarily lose my balance due to Kim Young-hoon's attack and nearly fall into the deep sea. Quack. Fortunately, just before falling into the deep sea, I manage to float in the void by enveloping my entire body with the All-Heaven's sword. But at that very moment, I see something absurd. Tu-wung. A clear sound seems to ring, and Kim Young-hoon stands firmly on top of the deep sea. Quote. How are you doing that? It's not that difficult. Since this isn't real water but a type of dimension, just thinking of standing on the dimension makes it easy. Quote. And, how are you doing that? You just need to stand on the dimension. And maintain your balance. Quote. Quote. I give up understanding and just float near the surface of the deep sea. Around Kim Young-hoon, who is briefly laughing, illusions suddenly appear around him. They are the illusions I saw at the edge of the twilight domain earlier. The faces of the illusions are not clearly visible, just appearing as blurry shadows. However, while looking at the shadows, I suddenly feel a sense of déjà vu. At that moment, Kim Young-hoon points his saber at one of the illusions that approaches him and speaks. The sea of the ancient force realm reflects the past of its target. So sometimes, I think of Earth while looking at the night sea. Of course, it's not always the faces I like, which can be annoying at times. Ah, I see. This sense of déjà vu is. I realize the source of the déjà vu I feel from the night sea of the ancient force realm. The ancient force realm is reflecting the canvas of myriad forms and connections to me. As Kim Young-hoon aims his saber at the nearby illusion that has briefly approached him, he warns me with a wary look. Be careful. Sometimes deep-sea monsters appear pretending to be ordinary illusions of the ancient force realm. Having warned me, he swings his saber and cuts down the illusion. Surring. The illusion is split and vanishes. The illusion that dissipated around Kim Young-hoon had been wielding something like a whip that emerged from its arm before disappearing. After cutting down the illusion, Kim Young-hoon asks me, "Let me ask you, Seo Eun-yun, what do you think martial arts are?" Quote. I don't know. It's too vast to simply define and it's too easy an answer to a difficult guess. That is the meaning of martial arts. Maybe I'm not a martial artist. To me, martial arts are a part of life, but not everything. At the same time, since it's one of my strengths along with the numerous cultivation methods I have learned, I can't confidently say I understand what martial arts truly are. However, Kim Young-hoon grins widely and says, "You are indeed a martial artist. I can guarantee that, even though I use not only martial arts but also cultivation methods and demon beast methods." Well, having seen someone who is truly not a martial artist, I can confidently say you're one. Wo-wung. The same illusion that Kim Young-hoon had just cut down rises again and attacks him. Feeling slightly annoyed, he no longer pays any attention to the illusion. The illusion brushes past Kim Young-hoon, and I realize that I have seen the outline of that illusion somewhere before. That man. It's Jin Ma-yeol, the pirate captain of the fighting demon pirates, who fought against Jeon Myung-hoon. Kim Young-hoon glances at the illusion and says, "When I first came to the ancient force realm, I fought the pirate captain of a notorious pirate group. Surprisingly, he had been stuck at entering heavens for thousands of years. At first, I thought he was a martial artist, so I tried to treat him with respect. But after a few exchanges, I could tell. He is not a martial artist. Not a martial artist. It's a strange thing. That man has certainly entered treading heavens. Perhaps he gained enlightenment after fighting Kim Young-hoon and broke through. Why then does Kim Young-hoon not acknowledge him as a martial artist? That's why I took his weapon. It was too good a blade to be in the hands of someone who isn't a martial artist. The demon saber that fused with my hand and moved as if alive that you destroyed was his. Ah, I remember now. Indeed, it was a tough blade, and it took some time to tear it apart. Curious, I ask, why isn't he a martial artist? Yuk Rin even obtained a magic artifact to protect against Jin Ma Yal's sight, meaning he has perfectly acquired the vision of the Heart tribe. Moreover, if he reached the integration stage and rose to treading heavens, his efforts must have been indescribable. Why then does Kim Young-hoon not acknowledge him as a martial artist? Kim Young-hoon is silent for a moment, then lifts his saber. Quote, I will show you why it's impossible for me to reach the next stage. Then you will understand. Tu Wang, Tong, he begins to perform a saber dance, stepping on the dimension. The illusions and remnants of the past around him are all cut down by his dance. But strangely, his movements leave no afterimages. Literally, it seems as if Kim Young-hoon exists only in this very moment. It's a metaphysical expression, but it's true. His heaven and earth spiritual energy cannot be read, and his next move cannot be predicted. It's as if his figure cannot be seen at any boundary of history and fate. Existing but not existing, in a strange emptiness. His saber dance ends, and I let out a gasp. Though my talent is limited, I can understand as someone who has held a sword for thousands of years. Quote, because of Sir Cheongman Ryong, you did not name the next realm, right? Well, that's right, but in truth, you have already named it. I quietly utter the name that resonated from his dance just now. First step before the throne. What did Kim Young-hoon name this realm? Is it not seated detachment, standing oblivion, Jwatalib Mangzuo Tuo Li Wang? Chapter 368. Holding hands 5. Seated detachment, standing oblivion. What does it mean? Literally, it means passing into nirvana while seated. It's a term implying the ability to control life and death freely and to project one's soul at will, astral projection. The single strike in the first step before the throne is essentially a part of me, so if you consider it as soul projection, that isn't wrong either. However, there is something I don't understand, so I ask. Why did you name it but never call it by that name? Quote. What good is reaching the ultimate state alone? It's a realm reached by cutting down, my friend. Though the intention is clear, it's far from simply sitting comfortably and passing into nirvana. Too many things have happened. Quote. Is that so? Quote. It seems that he doesn't call it by its name due to the lingering guilt over Cheongman Ryong. Well, anyway, was there anything else you saw? Quote. I saw something. Quote. What Kim Young-hoon showed through his dance. It's a clue to the next realm. And though I may be dull, I haven't spent all this time wielding a sword for nothing. I understood that clue too. Beyond the realm of seated detachment, standing oblivion. To reach what is also called the second step before the throne, we must draw out all the possibilities within us. Just as Kim Young-hoon laid down his blood veins on his devilish swords and demon sabers to trigger their potential. Just as Tae Yal Jaeon drew strength from the depths of her heart essence. Drawing out every possible potential is the key to the next realm. So, how does one with a mortal body draw out other possibilities? Seated detachment, standing oblivion is the nickname for the first step before the throne given by Kim Young-hoon, and also the training method for this realm. It is both standing oblivion Ib Mang Li Wang and entering oblivion Ib Mang Ru Wang. TLN. Wang, which I translated as oblivion, carries the meaning of being in a state non-existence, or of total loss. One must forget. In other words, one must sever. Sever all attachments to one's past, all fears about one's fate. Only by severing and forgetting everything, leaving only this moment, and reaching true emptiness can one reach beyond seated detachment, standing oblivion. I understand why Kim Young-hoon said he can't reach the next realm. Quote. You can't sever it. Quote. Quote. Indeed, reaching beyond this realm requires severing and forgetting everything. But the only reason he could come this far is because of his longing. Telling him to forget everything is no different from telling him to throw away his identity. Kim Young-hoon looks at his saber with powerless eyes. How can a person sever all connections? /quote /quote. I let out a silent sigh at the sight. As Kim Young-hoon said, if severing everything is the key to the next realm, I, too, cannot reach the next realm. How can a person claim to sever all their connections without hesitation? Hearing his words, I feel endlessly gloomy. I found the method to the next realm. But it's an impossible path. /quote. Damn it. /quote. Kim Young-hoon, with a despondent expression, swings his saber. The surface of the dimension where he stands fluctuates along the trajectory of his saber. That's why I asked Oh Yun-sok to train me. Because no matter how much I train, it might really be impossible to reach the next realm. /quote /quote. He stands still with his saber, as if tasting bitterness, then walks on the surface of the deep sea towards the twilight domain in the distance. That's why I suggested a spar to talk about it. I wanted to confirm whether the enlightenment I have is truly correct. /quote You're saying strange things. This is the first time I've heard about the clue to the next realm from Young-hoon Hung Nim, so why would you spar with me to test it? /quote That's because, haven't you already embodied the enlightenment of the next realm? /quote What? /quote I ask back in surprise, and Kim Young-hoon chuckles softly. It seems you still haven't realized it yet, but you already possess the same level of enlightenment as I do, and you've embodied it entirely. That's why I gained enlightenment while fighting you. /quote That's. /quote There's no need to explain it to you in detail. Once you encounter the right opportunity, you'll naturally realize it on your own, and it's best to realize it by oneself. Anyway, I've confirmed my enlightenment. I'm going to see Oh Yun-sok to receive some more training in that body cultivation method. /quote With those words, Kim Young-hoon returns to the twilight domain. I stand there for a moment, unable to say anything. The surroundings are still filled with countless illusions flickering around. I understand why Kim Young-hoon had cut down one of the illusions. The night sea of the ancient force realm vaguely reflects one's past, and Kim Young-hoon was trying to sever his own past. Of course, he must have known it's impossible and thus left again. /quote I quietly remain in the night sea and look around. /quote Canvas of myriad forms and connections. /quote TSTSTSTST. The colorless glass sword hums, releasing faint fog around. It appears as though a hazy sea mist has appeared over the sea of the ancient force realm. And within that mist, countless nostalgic and longed-for connections emerge. Wu Wang, as if resonating with the nature of the ancient force realm or something, the entire canvas of myriad forms and connections vibrates with the deep sea. Of course, it isn't awakening some hidden power or potential, it's just resonating together ordinarily. Floating above the night sea for some time, I reach out to them. Sururuk. My hand passes through their illusions. I can't grasp them. They are clearly connections I have once made, but now they are nothing more than intangible phantoms. Reaching out foolishly into the air and reminiscing about old memories has become a habit of mine. Though it seems like a foolish act, I can't stop. It feels as if I keep reaching out, eventually I will be able to grasp them. My tendency to spout nonsense about being an earthling from a civilized society, when I'm struggling isn't without reason. Even if it's meaningless, I feel like if I keep repeating it, I could go back to that place. This act is the same. Even if it's meaningless, I'm doing this because I feel that I could grasp them again if I keep gesturing. But to reach the next realm, I have to sever this. /quote. It's impossible. /quote. Pasasic. As I reach out, the hazy mist scatters. In the end, it's just the night sea around me again. I seem to understand the contradiction Kim Young-hoon is trapped in. To return home, one must train and refine their martial arts to reach a higher realm. But without abandoning their initial goal, one cannot reach the next realm. It's a situation where the cart is before than the horse. So what should be done? /quote. Up to the integration stage, it's still somewhat manageable. /quote. There's hope that if I continue to build the 5 blessings axes and realize the 6 extremes to complete the earth axis stage, I can somehow reach the integration stage. But the star-shattering stage, and beyond seated detachment, standing oblivion, I can't get a sense for it at all. Can I truly reach it? Even now, the difference between the star-shattering stage and those below it is insane. Usually, I believe that if I raise the three great ultimates to the extreme, I can have a good fight against beings 2 realms above. But even if I reach the grand perfection integration stage with the three great ultimates, it's uncertain if I can handle the insane Kong Minhee. /quote. Why am I doing this? /quote. Suddenly, a fundamental question arises as to why I am doing this. Is it because I am out alone at night? Random thoughts enter my head, and eventually, a heart demon starts gnawing at my mind. Why do you live? Another illusion of myself appears before my eyes. A life that isn't truly living. You have no interest other than breaking the cycle of regression. You pour your entire life into becoming stronger, running yourself ragged to save people like Kong Minhee and Kim Yeon, even though you know it's futile. Do you know how pitifully foolish you look from the side? /quote. /quote. Acting as such, do you think anything will change even if you save them? You know that fate is fixed. Even if you save them, they will be miserable again. You might as well abandon all those connections and shut yourself away in some remote place, train for 1,000,000 years, become a true immortal, and then regress to save them all. No, you know that's the best way. Isn't that right? /quote. The illusion of me is dressed in black, with 19 heads. It whispers to me, so just kill yourself right now and, using a more optimized method. And then, /quote, but I look up at the heart demon before me with empty eyes. I don't tell others, but this type of heart demon frequently torments my mind. However, I have never been devoured by any of these heart demons. And then, if I die, then what? /quote, I look down at the heart demon with hollow eyes. It starts to shrink gradually. Even if I die, I come back to life. I can't describe how madly jealous and filled with resentment I felt seeing Seo Lee die peacefully with a smile. I am so incredibly envious of him. Cultivators have various reasons for cultivating. Immortality, infinite power, vast knowledge, new truths. Exploring the world, complicated grudges. To avoid being manipulated by others, just feeling it suits them and they make steady progress. But I dare to claim, I am cultivating for a reason that is different and alien to any other cultivator in the 3,000 worlds. I want to die too. /quote. Clench. I grab the heart demon before me and open my mouth. Crunch, crunch, crunch. The heart demon with 19 heads is caught in my hands and torn apart in my mouth. The reason I have never gone completely mad despite encountering countless heart demons. It's because I myself am my greatest heart demon. Even if I go mad, it's useless. In my first life, I went mad, screaming that I am an earthling from a civilized society. It was useless. Everything was undone. Next, I became mad for work and achieved nearly everything, though it was somewhat unsatisfactory. It was useless. Everything was undone. I became stronger, learned the secrets of the world, gained recognition for my position, lost precious people, gained them back only to lose them again, gained invaluable experiences, made cherished friends, grasped many truths and powers, and my position rose rapidly again. It was all useless. Everything was undone. I did manage to retain some connections through the regression point fixing it itself. But, still, there is more left. /quote. The regression has not disappeared. In the end, due to Yang Soo-jin's warning, I never uttered the word regression out loud. But because of that, it feels like my heart is burning even more. Chua! I strike my fist down with all my might. The power I have accumulated up to this point invokes immense force, causing the deep sea to surge. After devouring the heart demon, I realize the reason it has suddenly appeared with a gloomy expression. /quote. It's because I heard that it must be severed. It cannot be severed. I have already lost everything, numerous times, within the flow of time. Because of the curse of regression, countless times. I know well that Kim Young-hoon never lies about the next realm. If he provides a clue about the next realm, it is always true. Thus, when he said that severing everything is the only way to reach the next realm, he is surely correct. I feel the three great ultimates rise behind my back. Recently, I feel like I've come to understand. The cultivation methods of the Heaven Tribe and Earth Tribe are gradually converging. Up to the Heavenly Being stage, the cultivation methods of the Heaven and Earth Tribes differed. But from the 4-axis stage, even with Heaven and Earth dual cultivation, the path of power and the method of expressing power, along with the cultivation methods have no major distinctions, other than the amount of spiritual power one can contain within their body. And according to the words passed down by others, by the star-shattering stage, the cultivation methods of the heaven and earth tribes have almost no difference. I also know well the ascension ritual for the star-shattering stage. The Grand Cultivator Association made everything public for those who potentially want to become an esteemed one beyond a Grand Cultivator. However, Grand Perfection Integration Stage Jun Jae, Late Integration Stage Gal Mike, even Hun Wan, who was once at the late stage, all remained at the later stages of the integration stage and never attempted to become esteemed ones. The ascension ritual for the star-shattering stage is also similar to what Kim Young-hoon mentioned. Interestingly, just as the planes of chi, soul, and fate are essentially one, heaven, earth, and heart become increasingly similar as one progresses to the later realms. I don't know if it's all streams return to the origin Wan Lu Guizong or something. But now, if I want to advance to the next realm, there is only one way. Abandon. Ruthlessly abandon what I absolutely cannot. That is the way to rise even higher. How do I abandon? Quote. There is only one reason why the heart demon came to me, spouting nonsense and ended up being devoured. Because there is no answer. I have to raise my realm, but the path ahead is bleak. Regardless of how much time I invest. Just how can I possibly use that method? Previously, I had a subtle expectation that even the most daunting realms could be broken through by throwing enough time. But now I know, there are things that cannot be done even with time. Like the nonsense the heart demon spouted while knowing nothing, even pouring in 1,000, 10,000, even 100 million years would not make that method possible. At least not for me. Having faced countless heart demons and experienced numerous such frustrations, I can predict my next action. Still, I will continue to train and challenge the extremes of seated detachment, standing oblivion. Then, I will raise my cultivation to the integration stage in all aspects. Achieving grand perfection integration with all three heaven, earth, and heart will be quite useful. Perhaps, I might even be strong enough to attempt escaping before a star-shattering esteemed one. But I know the outcome. Once again, I will hit a wall and wail for 1,000, 10,000, even 1,000,000 years. This isn't a matter of talent. This is a matter of whether I can abandon or not. Quote. Damn it. Quote. Gazing upon the deep sea that has returned to its original state, I mutter a low curse. I can see something wriggling below. A deep-sea monster seems to be eyeing me. Chua! Towards the void above, a whale-like monster covered in countless illusions opens its mouth and leaps at me. Boo-wong! It's a monster at the Grand Perfection 4-axis level, but I casually slice it open and pull out an ancient stone the size of a head from inside. It is said that deep-sea monsters are not living creatures, but a type of record, taking shape, formed by the histories of countless dimensions. The monster floats above the deep sea for the time it takes to drink a cup of tea before melting away and disappearing. Sutsutsu. The deep-sea monster, made from the records of the past, appears to dissolve into the air, and its corpse melts and scatters into the void. The countless remnants of the past within the deep-sea monster scatters. It's when I stare blankly at the scene. Suddenly, a faint greenish shadow from the past brushes past in front of me. Within that remnant, I see a scene of a neighboring family carrying a large coffin up a mountain with someone. The family consists of a middle-aged couple, climbing the mountain with a small girl. The girl is the Jew family daughter. Quote. Wait. Quote. Seeing that remnant, my eyes are wide open as I approach it. Just then, Pachechesh, the remnant that emerged from the deep-sea monster's body coalesces in the void, forming a green beast. It's a small deep-sea monster, reconstituted from the information entity that emerged from the original deep-sea monster's body. Wait. Quote. I lunge at the green beast. It has the form of a deer, and as I charge at it, it immediately starts to flee. Tong tong. My eyes are wide open as I stare at the deep-sea monster. Quote. Wait, what are you? Quote. I begin to chase the deer. Above the mystical night sea of the ancient force realm. There, the chase between the green deer and me begins. The deer leaps across the sea like Kim Young-hoon. I keep chasing its tail, but strangely, the closer I get, the farther it seems to be. Stop right there. Quote. My eyes are bloodshot as I chase after the suddenly appearing deer. Stop, I'm saying stop right there. I demand you stop this instant. Quote. Qua. I use every method at my disposal, from the flying escape technique, ground shrinking technique, gliding technique, and sword flight. However, the deer never gets any closer to me. Gritting my teeth, I yell at the deer. See, come back, backslash quote. But the deer evades me and flees far away, and I can only float above the dark sea, having lost sight of it. Backslash quote. What was that? Backslash quote. It's a strange occurrence. I ran with my full strength for quite some time. I flew at a speed that could cross the Weijing Sea domain multiple times, yet not only did I fail to catch it, but the sea seemed to stretch endlessly. What did I see? Backslash quote. Regaining my senses, I realize I haven't strayed far from where I had caught the whale-like deep-sea monster. Tell me too. Backslash quote. Whatever. It seems the deep-sea monster showed me an illusion. Backslash quote. I sigh, rubbing my head. Did I go mad? If Kim Young-hoon was nearby, he would have taken precautions for me falling into the illusions, but since he left and I am alone in the night sea of the ancient force realm, I must have briefly been enchanted. Backslash quote. That was close. Backslash quote. I shake my head. It seems there was a reason why Kim Young-hoon warned me about the dangers of staring too long into the night sea of the ancient force realm. I turn back to look at the spot where I caught the whale monster. All the illusions have scattered and vanished, with only the sea of dimensions rippling. Backslash quote. I should head back. Backslash quote. I didn't think one deep-sea monster was particularly dangerous, but witnessing that bizarre illusion just now changed my mind a bit. I use the ground shrinking technique to return to the floating twilight domain in the distance. Coo-goo-goo-goo. The twilight domain has already reached the edge of the air bubble before I knew it. Now, the wall of the dome sky is visible right in front of me. Qua, the end of the bright blue horizon I had seen from Sacred Orchid Island is right in front of my eyes. It really looks like the view from the head realm. Just like the head realm, the end of the horizon here is cut off as if it's the world's end. However, if something like the world shield force blocks the world's end in the head realm, this sea domain has seawater rising vertically, forming a wall of deep sea that stretches endlessly into the sky, creating the dome sky. To cross into another sea domain, one must overcome this wall. Let's see. When it's time to cross the wall, I was told to call for either Yin Wei, Seo Ran, Shiho, or Buk Hyunghwa. Seo Ran and Shiho seem very busy, and Buk Hyunghwa is currently drunk and going wah-wah, while having her hair sucked by the equally drunk Kim Yeon. Shaking my head, I look towards Yin Wei. Fortunately, Yin Wei is gambling with the slightly recovered Yuk Yo. I'll have to ask Yin Wei. Backslash quote. I send a voice transmission to Yin Wei, and she, who is in her split soul state, overturns the board where she is losing to Yuk Yo, and takes the stakes straight into the room where Jaeon Myung-hoon and Yeon Jin are training. A moment later, after a brief commotion inside, Yin Wei, now in Yeon Jin's body, flies towards me. Ah, have we already reached the end of the sea domain? Backslash quote. Yes, please cool off your sweat. Backslash quote. No need. It's not my body anyway. Hoo-hoo. Anyway, since the Conqueror King Kid said it's the same as before, my help should be enough to cross. Backslash quote. Yin Wei wipes her sweat and gazes at the enormous wall of the dome sky ahead. For now, do you have any ancient stones? Backslash quote. Here you go. Backslash quote. I break the ancient stone from the whale monster I just caught into small pieces and hand it to her. Yin Wei grasps a handful of ancient stone pieces and forms a hand seal. Pot. The ancient stones emit light in midair, transforming into a compass-like shape. The compass-like shape creaks in the air and points to a specific spot on the dome sky wall. Move the twilight domain over there. Backslash quote. Yes. Backslash quote. Coo-goo-goo-goo. After moving the twilight domain to the indicated spot, Yin Wei nods. Extend your attraction force straightforwardly in the direction indicated by the ancient force compass spell. Backslash quote. Wo Wang. I extend my attraction force as instructed. Backslash quote. Suddenly, I feel as if my attraction force and consciousness are being sucked into the direction far beyond the dome sky indicated by the compass. At some point, my attraction force and consciousness connects to somewhere beyond the dome sky wall. Is it connected? Backslash quote. Yes. However, backslash quote. I'll teach you the hand seal. Chant the invocations while forming the hand seal and pull. Backslash quote. Wu Wang. Following her instructions, I form the hand seal while pulling the twilight domain to the designated location with attraction force. Simultaneously, the twilight domain embeds itself into the dome sky wall. Coo-goo-goo-goo. Countless dimensional fragments flicker like shattered glass. These are the remnants of destroyed worlds. I feel a sense of disorientation, as if I might lose my way at any moment. However, something connected to me gently pulls me along, guiding us on our path. With this, I advance without panic and lead the Twilight Domain forward. And soon after, flash, coo-goo-goo-goo, the Twilight Domain enters somewhere. /quote. Is this another sea domain? /quote. I look around. It's a rather narrow space. It's just large enough to contain the Twilight Domain, which is the size of the Indian Ocean. Of course, that size isn't small, but compared to the sea domain I know, it's quite confined. However, Yin Wei shakes her head. This is the middle zone. /quote. The middle zone. /quote. Yes. Between sea domains, there are numerous overlapping dimensions and spaces, making it easy to lose your way if you swim through them for too long. Therefore, many integration stage cultivators and esteemed ones have created middle zones at appropriate distances. Think of them as relay stations between sea domains. Try reading the attraction force surrounding this space. You can interpret it like this. /quote. Following her method, I read the flow of attraction force surrounding this alternate space. Can you feel the flow of attraction force? Within that flow, you should sense the coordinates of the Weijing sea domain and another sea domain. We need to repeat what we just did to reach the coordinates of the sea domain we are heading to. /quote. /quote. Are you listening to me? /quote. While listening to her words, my eyes tremble. This flow of attraction force, this spell etched into this alternate space. Xiao Unyun, you rascal. When your ancestor speaks, you listen. /quote. This is. Suddenly, a decaying corpse realm comes to mind. At the bottom of a valley of that realm, that formation and jade tablet. The world with Ham Jin. Activating the formation in that world transforms the surrounding area into an air bubble, separating it from the decaying corpse realm with a peculiar attraction force surrounding it. I didn't know what it was back then, but now I understand. The thing in Ham Jin's world is a middle zone. Recalling the flow of attraction force I had read back then, I use Yin Wei's interpretation method to read it again. You insolent brat, if this were my time, you'd have been smacked for showing such an attitude towards a senior. /quote. In the middle zone of Han Jin's world, there are two sets of coordinates imprinted. One is here, the ancient force realm, and the other leads to a place called the Lightning Sacred Sea, Lei Shanghai. As I shake off Yin Wei, who is dangling from my shoulder, my eyes brighten. /quote. Yes, now that I think about it, he is there. Using her interpretation method, I have obtained the coordinates for the Lightning Sacred Sea. According to Xiao Weiol, the Lightning Sacred Sea is a distant place where esteemed ones ventured for expeditions. Among them is Jiang Ik. Coo-goo-goo-goo. As I move the Twilight Domain to a completely different sea domain, I quickly ponder. If truly, as Kim Young-hoon said, severing all connections is the way to proceed, how did Jiang Ik manage to do so? It doesn't seem like he has abandoned all worldly desires and attachments. Though he has an air of transcendence, he is still fighting for the interests of the Heart tribe. How can someone who abandoned everything still do that? While I don't think Kim Young-hoon's method is wrong, considering Jiang Ik's case. Surely, there must be another way that doesn't require abandoning everything. I think with bright eyes. Let's go meet Jiang Ik. Perhaps, if I receive his teachings, I can discover another path. Massaging my somehow stiff shoulder, I resolve to meet Jiang Ik in the Black Sea domain, where the main fleet of the Bukhyang fleet is located. Translator notes. Term changes. Mystical Scaled Fish Commanding Sect greater than Black Scaled Fish Commanding Sect. 72 Earthly Sha True Words greater than 72 Earthly Fiends True Words. 36 Heavenly Gang Method Decrees greater than 36 Heavenly Spirits Law Decrees. 12 Earthly Branches greater than 12 Earthly Melodies. Immortal General greater than Immortal Lord. Chapter 369, Holding Hands 6. Coo-goo-goo-goo. I enter the Black Sea domain and head towards the home of Xiao Ran and Song Jin at its center. I make my way towards Black Island. After a while, I can sense a familiar presence. Coo-goo-goo. In the distance, I see a valley that resembles the valley of Black Ghost Valley. It seems that just as Song Jin has renamed this domain, the island that once looked different has also been transformed into the appearance of Black Ghost Valley. But it doesn't have the same ghostly energy as Black Ghost Valley. Of course, this isn't the Nether Ghost Realm, and obtaining such ghostly energy in the Ancient Force Realm is no easy feat. If Xiao Ran, who practices the ghost path method, reached the 4-axis stage and could control the dragon vein, it might have been different, but since Seo Ran's cultivation is lower than even Shiho's, it's meaningless. Kuguging. Soon after, when the Twilight Domain reaches Black Island. Ho, Wo Wang. A strong suction force begins to emerge from Black Island, starting to suck in the ghostly energy of the Twilight Domain. And from within the Black Island that's absorbing ghostly energy, formation made of ghostly energy seems to arise, amplifying the ghostly energy. Kugugugugugu. Soon, living up to its name, Black Island turns into a truly eerie island with an environment perfectly suited for the cultivation of ghostly creatures. Pot. Seo Ran hurries out of his room, wiping sweat from his excited face as he looks down at Black Island. We've arrived at Black Island. Yes, but that formation on Black Island. Oh, that's a formation laid down by my master from one of the formations of Black Ghost Valley. Originally, it was meant to amplify the ghostly energy within the island to aid my cultivation and make my master's body more comfortable. He has a particularly cheerful expression. With this level of ghostly energy. Quagagagak. Suddenly, I sense a massive vortex of ghostly energy at the center of Black Island. That ghostly energy, it's a familiar wave of ghostly energy. Soon after, a familiar ghost emerges from the vortex of ghostly energy. Ha, it's Song Jin. He inhales the ghostly energy comfortably, looks at Seo Ran, and then notices me beside him, shuddering slightly. He sighs and speaks. Quote. I've heard everything from Seo Ran, Senior. Please come in. Haha, calling me Senior. Just call me comfortably. Quote. Your joke is too much. Someone of Senior's level must have lived for thousands of years. It was rather disrespectful of me to not recognize Senior in the head realm. Having heard about me from Seo Ran since the incident at Weijungxi Domain, Song Jin apparently thinks I'm some old monster who hid his cultivation, and he respectfully bows. Well, if that's what he believes, there's nothing I can do. Since he firmly believes it, nothing I say would change his mind. Quote. Well, okay, if you want to treat me that way, do as you please. Anyway, is this Black Island a branch of Black Ghost Palace? Yes, that's correct, Senior. But due to the nature of the ancient force realm, we cannot contact the main sect, so we haven't been officially approved yet. I see. Then, does it have maintenance functions like the main sect, the Bright Cold Realms branch, or the head realm's Black Ghost Valley? Black Ghost Valley created functions to maintain the Nether crossing ship even while it's floating in the air, to prepare for the possibility of it being unable to dock at sea. Even if the Nether crossing ship's power source is temporarily halted, the formation of Black Ghost Valley can keep it suspended in the air, recharge its ghostly energy remotely, and perform maintenance. Yes, we have certainly installed such functions on our Black Island. Then that's good. I'd like our Twilight Domain to be supported by Black Island for a while. Song Jin glances at the Twilight Domain and breaks out in a cold sweat. Senior. With all due respect, that landmass is so large compared to the Nether crossing ship. I'm not sure if the function will work. It's fine. It will work sufficiently. Kugugugu. I move the Twilight Domain above Black Island and signal to Song Jin with my eyes. Song Jin sighs as he forms hand seals, and Twilight Domain begins to float above Black Island. Hong Fan, deactivate Twilight Domain's floating formation. I send a voice transmission to Hong Fan, and soon he temporarily deactivates the floating formation. Cooing. Then, a formation activates across the entire Black Island, lifting 6 translucent shadows towards the Twilight Domain. The shadows become more distinct as they rise into the air, transforming into translucent, massive skeletal hands by the time they reach the Twilight Domain. The 6 massive skeletal hands shimmer translucently as they support the Twilight Domain. Kugugugek. Of course, due to the weight of the Twilight Domain, the skeletal hands appear like they are about to crack, but the Twilight Domain is a landmass torn from the mainland of the Nether Ghost Realm. In other words, it's a land imbued with the pure ghostly energy of the Nether Ghost Realm. Suit. Nourished by the ghostly energy of the Nether Ghost Realm, the skeletal hands become even more defined, repairing any cracks and fissures on their arms and properly supporting the Twilight Domain. Song Jin observes this scene for a moment before clearing his throat. Quote. Senior. Originally, 3 of these hands support the Nether crossing ship, while the other 3 are used for its maintenance, but, now, they're all being used to support your territory, making maintenance impossible. It's fine. We'll handle the maintenance of Twilight Domain ourselves. The reason I'm specifically using Black Island's formation is because Twilight Domain has been floating for too long, and its floating formation needs a break. Well then, come in. It's been a while, and I'm glad to see a familiar face. Although I hadn't formed a close relationship with Song Jin like with Cheongmin Ryong, we aren't on bad terms either, so it's a pleasant reunion. After hesitating for a moment, he finally enters the Twilight Domain. Reuniting with Song Jin after such a long time is truly delightful. That's really fortunate. Song Jin, who was almost out of ghostly energy and on the brink of being dragged to the netherworld, had his lifespan extended by absorbing the pure ghostly energy of the Twilight Domain. No, this won't do. If you wish, I can also give you a new body through our orders, procedure, and grace. I point to one of the followers doing chores in the Wuji religious hall and explain the grace of the Wuji religious order. However, Song Jin laughs heartily and shakes his head. Thank you for the offer, but I no longer need a body outside the Nether crossing ship. I've raised an excellent disciple and opened a branch of Black Ghost Valley in the ancient Force realm. Now, I just want to pass away peacefully when the ship's lifespan ends. I heard from the Conqueror King that the Nether crossing ship can last a long time if you recharge the power source and repair it entirely. It's exactly as said. If Buk Hyonghwa repairs the Nether crossing ship, which was severely damaged by the Mad Lord, and recharges its power source with Twilight Domain's ghostly energy, it would allow Song Jin to live for quite a long time. However, Song Jin bursts into a hearty laugh and says, if we only consider the Nether crossing ship, that's true. But, the Nether crossing ship. And that history ended in the war with the Mad Lord. The history of the Black Ghost Valley disciples laughing and chatting, being born and raised on the ship, practicing methods, kidnapping and looting, marrying and having children who then entered the main sect, the peaceful history of the Black Ghost Valley that was embedded in the Nether crossing ship, is no more. He smiles faintly. I am grateful for the slight extension of my lifespan. Thanks to you, I can live for another 100 years or so. But I will enjoy this lifespan and close my eyes within the Nether crossing ship. By then, my disciple will have become a great cultivator at the heavenly being stage, just like I once was, and I will have no regrets. I understand. I will respect your decision. I nod at Song Jin, who refused the procedure. 100 years might seem long, but for cultivators, it's a short time. Take the path to Penglai Island for example. According to Yuk Rin, it won't open for another 120 years, so Song Jin will close his eyes before then. However, despite such persuasions from Seo Ran, there is no sign in Song Jin's eyes that he intends to change his decision. He truly intends to close his eyes after raising Seo Ran. Suddenly curious about Song Jin's attitude, I ask him a question. Let me ask you something. Please ask. If, for the revival of Black Ghost Valley, you had to abandon your most precious things, for instance, your memories of Black Ghost Valley or your feelings towards your fellow disciples, would you abandon them? Song Jin seems to ponder for a moment before responding. To abandon Black Ghost Valley for Black Ghost Valley, if I were part of a group, it would be my duty. However, abandoning is in itself a ridiculous notion. If I were to abandon my emotions for Black Ghost Valley for the sake of Black Ghost Valley, would the valley abandon me? He speaks with a calm smile. Even if I abandon my emotions for them, no. Even if I forget everything and become a monster, the valley would not abandon me and would still remember me. Therefore, I believe that completely abandoning, or severing, something is very difficult. They say attraction force is a mutual connection. Even if one side severs, if the other side pulls, the connection will still remain, will it not? Thank you for the good answer. Heavenly being stage cultivators are not just simple-minded people with core talents. They are those who have condensed their own kind of madness to reach their level, and they have their own beliefs and answers about life. Thus, even though Song Jin has lived shorter than me, and his cultivation is lower than mine, his answer has its own profound wisdom. I am embarrassed. I merely mixed my understanding into the words of an argument I once heard before. Oh, from whom did you hear such words? The people who would converse with Song Jin, who had been at the heavenly being stage when alive, are quite limited. It should probably be the elders of Black Ghost Valley, or Azure Heaven Creation Sect, or Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder Sect, or perhaps the Sea Dragon Tribe. In any case, it would be someone I know, but unexpectedly, someone else comes out of Song Jin's mouth. I heard it from Seo Ran's mother. In other words, a child who was a ghost soul disciple of our valley. Song Jin speaks with warm eyes, looking at Seo Ran. He's changed a lot. Perhaps it's because he has been with Seo Ran for about 200 years. In the past, even if he cherished Seo Ran, he would grumble a bit because he's from the sea dragon race, but now he openly shows his affection for him. Seo Ran also smiles warmly at Song Jin's words. Quote, Master, you said that whenever my mother came to ask about immortal arts, you would have many conversations with her. Yes, she was a truly lovely child. That child, Yuo. Song Jin, who was talking with me, speaks briefly with Seo Ran about his mother, Yuo. Haha, the conversation got sidetracked for a moment. No, it's alright, it's good to see. I think we've discussed everything needed anyway, so you two should enjoy your conversation after a long time. I laugh heartily and step aside for the two of them. The ghostly creatures of the Twilight Domain have gone down to Black Island and are engaging in voluntary activities such as teaching the disciples of the ancient Force Realm's Black Ghost Valley branch. Though there are faint cries and screams coming from below, it's nothing to worry about since the ghostly creatures usually make such noises. I descend to the basement of the Wuji Religious Hall and turn my attention to the salt crystal guarded by Hongfan and Yin Wei. Is this the salt crystal obtained from Governing Dragon Palace? Yes, the Governing Dragon Palace Lord willingly handed it over. Hongfan has already installed a flying immortal formation with the salt crystal from Governing Dragon Palace, allowing me to use it like a void spirit pond. Yin Wei grumbles discontentedly. In my opinion, didn't I say that guy is definitely hiding something more? The fact that he's willingly giving up such a precious treasure means there's a 99 plus 1 out of 100 chance that he's trying to hide an even more valuable treasure. My eyes can never be deceived. She crosses her arms and gives Hongfan a slight glare. Listen here, Yun. When I suggested to Hongfan that we should feed Yukrin the poison that amplifies pain by 60,000 times and torture, didn't he say no? Don't you think he's going easy on him just because they're both from the demon race, or maybe he has other motives? No, Lady Yin Wei. Hongfan, looking aghast, waves his hands in refusal. The poison that amplifies pain by 60,000 times is so severe that even a demon king in the integration stage would likely go mad. No matter how much of an enemy Palace Lord Yuk is, what did he do to deserve such torture? I shake my head and say, Hongfan is right, the 60,000 times poison is too excessive. He hasn't betrayed us or driven us into a corner, so there's no need for such harsh torture just to find more hidden treasures. Yin Wei turns her head with a pout, not receiving support even from me. HMPH. If it's that Yukrin guy, he probably swallowed all the inheritance from the Cherry Blossom Dragon Palace Lord by himself. We could have gotten that legacy too. If we lose those treasures just because we couldn't be a little harsher, I think my stomach will hurt. Well, let's search for such great treasures gradually. For now, let's focus on fully building the health axis. Do as you please. Why ask an old fossil like me? She leaves the basement in a sulky manner, and I sigh while letting my consciousness drift. According to what I heard from Yukrin, the path to Penglai Island will open in about 120 years. Until then, the plan is to build and complete as much of the health axis as possible. Peaceful Cloud Continent. In Yua, located in the borders of the continent, 3 great masters at the peak Qi refining stage and 1 demigod of the Qi building stage dominate the land. And Yua's only Qi building demigod. The Qi building cultivator who settled in the nearby Black Ridge Valley after the collapse of Split Turtle Valley. Fighting god Do Xian, Ham Jin, that day as well, respectfully places a bowl of water on a small altar inside his cave residence and prays. Just then, rattle, rattle, rattle. Suddenly, the bowl begins to tremble, and the water turns black. Hot, and the moment Ham Jin regains his senses, he finds himself pulled into a pure white mental world. In that mental world, a giant ghost king looks down upon him. Ham Jin bows his head in the presence of the Wuji Ghost King. "Oh Great One, did you summon me?" The Wuji Ghost King looks down at him and speaks. "I need to borrow your body. Have you kept the jade tablet safe?" "Yes, I have always kept it within my bosom." "Good, let's go to that place immediately." Ham Jin nods, and as soon as he gives his consent, the Wuji Ghost King instantly takes control of his body. Cha-chut. After taking control of Ham Jin's body, I try moving it around. Ho-ho, excellent, how much time has passed? Ham Jin has already reached the 2nd constellation of Qi building. Your praise is too much. Ham Jin responds humbly from within his heart essence, but in my eyes, his talent is truly outstanding. No, perhaps his unique talent has continued to blossom because of often possessed his body. Whether his inherent talent is good or it improved because of me, it's great either way. It's when I'm about to leave Ham Jin's cave residence. Sir husband, where are you going? A woman from another room calls out to him, rubbing her eyes in a disheveled appearance. Ham Jin speaks, flustered. Great one can just wave her off and it will be fine. Following his words, I wave my hand, and she politely bows and steps back in understanding. Have you married? While the previous core formation old monsters had demigod disciples and followers, the old monsters implanted restrictions that killed their followers and disciples upon their death. Because of this, I am the only demigod left in Yua, so the topic of marriage kept coming up from various cultivator clans and… Well, that's your decision too. Sir husband, are you skipping breakfast today? However, shortly after, another woman comes out from another room in the cave residence and asks Ham Jin. I wave her off as well and try to leave the cave residence. But as I try to leave the cave residence, I keep encountering more of Ham Jin's wives emerging from various rooms. Just what kind of life are you living? After sending off the 17th wife and stepping outside the cave residence, I can't help but ask in exasperation. Ham Jin coughs a bit awkwardly, as if embarrassed. I definitely did not force them or anything. They really are daughters sent from cultivator clans. They begged to stay here, saying they would have to marry much older old monsters from other countries. Quote. I click my tongue as I control attraction force with Ham Jin's body, arriving at that location. Since Ham Jin has reached the chi building stage, there is much more I can do now with his body now. Kugugugek. As I clench the void, attraction force twists. I take out the jade tablet from Ham Jin's bosom and activate it. Split Turtle Valley disappears, and over the wide expanse of land, a green formation shines brightly. After a while, I notice that the surrounding space has transformed into a middle zone, just as before. Whoa Wang, I read the flow of attraction force within the middle zone and calculate the coordinates. The middle zone not only serves as a relay station connecting the sea domains of the ancient force realm but also makes it easier to leap across vast spaces. In other words, the location that the esteemed ones are heading to, the lightning sacred sea, is so incredibly far that it required the creation of a middle zone. Having connected the other side's coordinates with attraction force and consciousness, I pull the coordinates toward me. Kugugugugu. In an instant, Ham Jin's body leaps across an immense space. Within his mind, Ham Jin looks around through my vision, marveling at the sight. Around us are countless stars, nebulae, and galaxies, all appearing as clusters of light. The very act of witnessing this vast world seems to trigger an awakening effect, further enhancing Ham Jin's upper dantian. This kid's cultivation will rise even faster now. It's a good thing for me. How much space do we cross? Finally, I arrive at the next set of coordinates. This place is Kurururung. Lightning is crashing all around. Toxic gases lethal to humans float in the atmosphere, and sandstorms rage across the arid desert. It looks like a star planet celestial body where life can't exist. Is this the lightning sacred sea? It's not. I realize that another middle zone has been set up at the location I have arrived at. Yugugugek. I reactivate the middle zone. I see. The place called the lightning sacred sea is so far away that the esteemed ones had to create an additional middle zone. It means it's a distance so far that a single middle zone is still insufficient to reach it. Once again, I use attraction force to activate the middle zone and travel to the next coordinates indicated by this middle zone. Whoa Wang. This time, I find myself on a star without any air. Like the moon, its gravity isn't very strong, and the land is barren. A place where life can't exist. And this is also a middle zone. I am slightly taken aback. How far away is the lightning sacred sea that even the esteemed ones had set up multiple middle zones? Suddenly, I recall that Zhang Ik, who was summoned by Sacred Master Baek Woon, sent his clone only 1,000 years later. Perhaps it's a distance where even the esteemed ones, who travel through vast space and time using attraction force, take 1,000 years to reach this distant location. This implies that there could be many more such middle zones ahead. No, what is this? Damn, the coordinates were clearly labeled, Lightning Sacred Sea. It seems that the esteemed ones had lazily omitted middle zone from what should have been labeled middle zone to Lightning Sacred Sea. They should have been more precise with their labeling. Well, at this point, I have no choice but to keep going. Whoa Wang. I activate the middle zone again and cross space. How many times do I jump through middle zones like this? I notice that Ham Jin's body is gradually failing to endure. Ham Jin, who accepted me into his body, is struggling to endure. Even though he has reached the mid-chi building stage, which allows me to exercise more power than before, he is still only at the mid-chi building stage. Despite the grandiose and laughable title of demigod, he hasn't yet surpassed the limits of humans. What should I do? I frown as I arrive on another planet filled with toxic gases. Hamjin's spiritual power and energy are depleting, and all the middle zones are on stars where no life can survive. If his spiritual power runs out, Hamjin is doomed to die. I could consume Hamjin's life force to draw on my power and partially modify the environment on the star to make it habitable, but I'd feel too guilty towards Hamjin. For now, let's keep going. I grit my teeth and continue moving through the middle zones. How many middle zones do I traverse like this? Despair begins to set in on my face. Damn it, are there no worlds where people can live, except for Hamjin's? Every middle zone designated by the esteemed ones are on stars with extreme environments where no life can exist. This won't work, damn, I'll have to replenish Hamjin's life force later with longevity and other methods. For now, I'll modify the area using his life force. Just as I'm about to seriously exert my power to modify the area for human habitation. Is it you, the one using the ancient force realm's transmission array since earlier? Quote. I turn around towards the voice, which appears without a trace. This is the surface of a planet so hot that even rocks melt. However, there stands a being unprotected by spiritual power, looking at me from atop a scorching rock. This is peculiar. Clearly, you're a first step before the throne, but your soul came from the ancient force realm. Does the Heart tribe exist in the ancient force realm as well? It is none other than the green dwarf with 4 padaos on his back, the heaven-collapsing esteemed one Jang Ik. Well, it's whatever. The important thing is not that. Jang Ik smiles at me and draws one of the padaos from his back. When you meet an elder, you should greet them properly, right? Come greet me. If I like you, I might consider taking you as my 23rd disciple. Chapter 370. Holding Hands 7. I swallow as I watch Jang Ik draw his padao. Quote. O great heaven-collapsing esteemed one, I have heard of your illustrious name. Well, do you have something to say? To start, I am not just an ordinary member of the Heart tribe, but originally from the Heaven tribe. And the method through which I have descended into the astral realm is by temporarily possessing this boy from a decaying corpse realm. In other words, if we fight, this boy is sure to die. Even if you do not spare me, please show mercy to this child. At my words, heaven-collapsing esteemed one looks at me with a curious gaze. You claim to be from the Heaven tribe. Fascinating. The Heaven tribe I know of think of the lives of their possessed bodies as mere fertilizer. Quote. Well, fine, then come out of that boy's body for now. Even a Heaven tribe member should be able to greet me adequately with just an avatar, given that you've reached the first step before the throne. Quote. Thank you for your consideration, but if I come out, this child will burn to death in the heat of this planet. Do you think I would ask you to come out without considering that? Jang Ik swings his padao towards the surrounding hot zone. Kugugugik. Then, something astonishing happens. It feels as if attraction force twists for a moment. No, it's as if the very laws themselves are twisting. Under a scorching star, a part of the planet's surface that once revealed a hellish appearance changes according to Jang Ike's will. Just as cultivators use spells to bend laws, Jang Ike's single move feels as if nature itself is obeying his will. In an instant, the hellish landscape becomes a pristine, clear valley where humans can survive. Although without grass and trees, clear water bursts forth immediately, cooling and soaking the ground. A crystal clear lake, as if greenery would soon sprout from somewhere, unfolds before my eyes. Throw him adequately in there and come out. Quote. I am at a loss for words and my mouth gapes open. With the power of the Heart tribe, is such a thing possible? Until now, I thought martial arts focused solely on confronting and defeating opponents compared to spell techniques. Of course, there are martial arts that can ignite flames or guide water, but transforming nature itself like Jang Ik is considered more the domain of spell techniques used by cultivators. After placing Hamjin's body in the lake Jang Ik created, I use the single strike of seated detachment, standing oblivion to exit from his upper dantian. Splash, plop. The first strike of seated detachment, standing oblivion is an avatar, and the avatar doesn't differ significantly from the main body in terms of pure skills of the Heart tribe. Of course, it lacks endurance compared to the main body, but that is the only difference. Jang Ik looks somewhat displeased as he sees me crawl out of Ham Jin's upper dantian. Quote. Well, everything is fine, but why did you come out in such a sinister manner, like a parasitic monster crawling out to find a new host? You could have just come out normally. Quote. I guess it became a habit since I cultivated the ghost path method a little. I ask for your understanding. After glancing at the unconscious Ham Jin, whose spiritual power and energy have been completely exhausted, I look around at the completely transformed surroundings and speak. Just what did you do? Why learn to fly when you can't even walk? Anyway, if you're a heaven tribe at the level of descending into the lower realms, you should be able to do something similar with spell techniques. He leaves me with nothing to say to his truthful words. After exiting the area Jang Ik has created, I take my stance. I was merely inquiring while thinking about the next step. Well, that's not a bad attitude. But what I did is less about the enlightenment of second step before the throne and more about a technique I developed to stabilize regions in the Chaos Realm to establish a Heart Tribe territory after reaching second step before the throne. I see, then I shall save questions about the next realm for later, after I greet you properly. Before finishing my sentence, I focus my mind and shoot towards Jang Ik like lightning. Gathering heaven and earth spiritual energy to form a chi sword, I aim straight for Jang Ik's face. However, he deflects my sword effortlessly with just one padao, not even drawing the others. Come closer. A rather abrupt statement, but I understand what he means. Between Jang Ik and me, countless domains and scenes are overflowing. Mostly, these are scenes of me being beaten up by Jang Ik, my body being split apart, or my head exploding. And the domains are places that Jang Ik could obliterate along with the entire space with a single move. Such places and scenes, numbering in the thousands or tens of thousands, are violently pressing down on my mind. And despite the physical proximity between Jang Ik and I, the myriad domains and scenes between us make him feel incredibly distant. Jang Ik is telling me to come a little closer. I will strip away his domain. Cooing, stepping forward with the right foot and leaning my left side back, I slash from the upper left to lower right towards Jang Ik. Before the stone fragments I have kicked off the ground fall back down, Jang Ik moves his padao, spinning 3 times on the spot, and sends 3 slashes towards my right side. It feels as if a gigantic claw is coming down to rip me apart. I immediately change my stance, slightly deflecting my sword to ward off the claw. I have to deflect it. If I can't, the next moment, I find myself flung into outer space. When I regain my senses, I see the aftermath of my exchange with Jang Ik wreaking havoc on the planet where I had been standing. From that single strike, I ended up here. Before I can finish my thought, I sense Jang Ik above me, holding a padao in both hands and ready to slice apart. I have to dodge. In a panic, I transform my body into the All-Heavens sword to evade his strike. Though there is no wind in space due to the lack of air, the sight of everything in the area where Jang Ik's dual padaos traverse being obliterated sends chills down my spine. Then, in the vacuum of space, Jang Ik's intent resonates like words enlightening the heart. Haiguangsameo wei guang xin yu. Do not dodge. Chills. Rip. I definitely dodged, but my waist is severed and my upper body and lower body are split apart. You will die. Why? The avatar of seated detachment, standing oblivion being cut in half is not the issue. Jang Ik's single strike was clearly executed in a dimension that I cannot comprehend. Master. Suddenly, an emergency alarm blares throughout the entire Wuji religious order. It's an alarm that sounds when the cult leader, Wuji Ghost King Xiao Unyun, suffers a critical injury. Hong Fan is shocked seeing the body of Xiao Unyun, who is sitting on the cult seat, being severed at the waist and stomach split open. He quickly begins to stitch the severed parts back together. What in the world? Why all of a sudden? A mysterious incident that makes no sense. However, despite such a bizarre occurrence, Xiao Unyun does not rise. Instead, he sits on the cult seat with an even more focused expression, his eyes closed and concentrating intensely on something. I don't know what he did, but he even cut the main body. A spine-chilling skill. It means that to Jang Ik, shallow tricks like using an avatar or the main body makes no difference. Gritting my teeth, I manifest about 3,000 chi swords around me. I have materialized the colorless glass swords. Chuaik. 3,000 chi swords dance and attack Jang Ik. The dance of formlessness boasting an infinite trajectory that becomes a colossal slash that could cleave mountains. Bo Wong. Has the sword formation shattered and my right arm cut off at the swing of Jang Ike's padao? Goo 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 goo. There is no sound in space, but there is vibration. Looking back, towards where Jang Ik has struck. Not the place where Ham Jin is, but another planet in this star system is split in half and is crumbling apart. Do it properly, Sururung. Just his gaze alone seems to crush my soul. All of a sudden, Jang Ik is already before me, holding his padaos in both hands. Even though you are of the Heart tribe, as long as you are also from the Heaven tribe, I have no qualms about killing you. Wing, my chi sword rises to the plane of soul and descends below. The single strike of Deep Mountain, emerging Dao explodes towards Jang Ik, but he shatters it head-on with his padao. Kwang, my seated detachment, standing Oblivion avatar fails to withstand Jang Ike's blade attack and is flung towards a star from the expanse of space. Jang Ik is chasing after me again. No, saying he is chasing is incorrect. The moment I blink, he is in front of me again. He is different from Kim Young-hoon and other integration stage cultivators. If Kim Young-hoon is too fast to perceive, and integration stage cultivators leap through space, he uses another method entirely. Hu Wang, to avoid being burned by the heat of the star's surface, I tightly wrap the All Heavens sword around my body and focus all my mental strength to deflect Jang Ike's next strike. Jang Ik raises his foot then lowers it down. Though it's the foot of a small green dwarf, I see a terrifying vision of a slash that seems capable of shattering a continent from his kick. KWAGGG Jilk. The seated detachment, standing Oblivion avatar is driven straight into the surface of the star. I watch as crimson flames and heat storms erupt from the star's surface. A storm large enough to engulf an entire small planet. This is the star-shattering stage. I am utterly stunned by this cosmic power, but I clench my teeth and focus my mind on the All Heavens sword. There is no time to think about anything else. I've figured out how Jang Ik is moving. Surprisingly, Jang Ik is moving through planes. Of course, he isn't really moving entirely through planes, it's a method of briefly shifting to the plane of soul before descending to a lower plane. After figuring out Jang Ike's method, I sense the plane of soul and extend the All Heavens sword. Severing Mountain, Pasak, the ultimate technique of severing mountain swordsmanship, unleashed with full power, barely grazes Jang Ike's cheek as he suddenly appears before my eyes in a blink of an eye. His skin splits and a tiny drop of blood drips out. Despite being on the surface of a star, the fact that the blood droplet is oozing out ordinarily like any other decaying corpse realm or planet suggests that the area around Jang Ik is practically an alternate world. Wiping the blood droplet with a surprised expression, Jang Ik exclaims through heart language. Smart fellow, you figured out I was moving between planes and immediately counterattacked. Kwang, Jang Ik slashes down with his padaos again as he speaks, and I draw out all the remaining power in my seated detachment, standing Oblivion avatar to deflect that force. However, the residual impact alone leaves the entire body of my avatar tattered, and to make matters worse, my main body seated in the Wuji religious hall is vomiting blood and dying. Even so, I can't die fighting Jang Ik. In this life, using the All Heavens sword, I begin drawing power from my main body through the plane of soul. Kugugugugu. The dragon veins of Twilight Domain converge around my main body, expending their power to open a path between us. Although the main body can't truly cross over, it's a technique that allows me to temporarily use my main body's other powers for a short battle. After converting the cultivation of the Heaven and Earth tribes from the main body, I raise them to the plane of soul through the All Heavens sword and bring them over before lowering them to a lower plane and integrating Heaven, Earth, and Heart. Of course, this method isn't without cost as I feel the dragon veins of Twilight Domain temporarily drying up as a consequence. Wing, the three great ultimates rise behind me. Jang Ik exclaims in amazement once more. Ha, I was planning to burst your head with that single strike. That sword, is it moving through planes? You're using your manifestation very well. He chuckles and praises me. Then another green slash comes flying. Deflecting Jang Ike's force, I am flung away again. Quagwagwagwang. I am swept beyond the star's horizon and thrown back out into space. Attraction force and spells, circuits, curses, blessings, immortal beast power, there is no time to pick and choose. If I don't want to die, I have to use everything I have. Quaduk. Jang Ike's hand grasps my head. Excellent, I don't know how you did it, but having all Heaven, Earth, and Heart at a similar level is impressive. Combining all your power to reach the grand perfection integration level, other esteemed ones would want to take you in as their disciple if they saw this. Though his hand is small, I feel as if every single cell in my body is clenched by his hand. I have to counterattack. Jang Ik raises his padao once more. Though he releases my head, I can't move. But, if I take another hit, I'll die. Woo-doo-dook. I force my body to move through the terror he has implanted in me. Then, I combine all the techniques of severing mountain swordsmanship. Simultaneously, I pour all the power of the three great ultimates into this one sword strike. I bet everything on this one move. Haha, a rather cute struggle. But, I can feel it. No, I can see it. In the next moment, my whole body will be crushed, turning into a bright red Seo Unyun kimchi pancake. Therefore, I will change that future. Become delicious, little heaven tribe brat. Record of transcending cultivation and exhausting martial arts. Pot. In an instant, my body disappears amidst all flows and perceptions. I cannot be found in the future, the past, or the present. By transforming into the very emptiness Kong Tae Yal Jaeon tried to teach me, I evade Jang Ike's perception for a single moment. Quadududududik. I can see Jang Ike's eyes narrowing sharply. His padao cannot find me. However, in that brief instant, Jang Ik converts his padao single strike into a wide-range attack. His padao dyes the area around the star in green. Quararararik. Fine needle-like strikes spread around the star's vicinity. And, in that brief moment of time, having just barely evaded his gaze, I, completely exhausted, with holes all over my body, am pulled into the star by its gravitational force. Damn it, I can't move my body. The tiny needles Jang Ik scattered have penetrated my entire body, holding me in place. I lost, and Jang Ik appears before me. Excellent. All of a sudden, he is holding Ham Jin in one hand. Why, have you brought that child? Jang Ik is distorting the laws around him, allowing Ham Jin to breathe normally even in the astral realm. But I don't understand. Does he intend to kill Ham Jin because he is also of the Heaven tribe? However, Jang Ik suddenly grabs the back of my neck, laughs heartily, and starts flying somewhere. I went a bit overboard looking for you, brat, and might have disturbed a superior. Let's run away. What? And then, it happens. Kugugugugik. The middle zone, where Ham Jin and I came from. From that middle zone, from that scorched planet with a hellish temperature, shoots out a black hand. What the zing? My whole body trembles. It's hard to maintain my sanity. That is. A quasi-immortal in slumber is tossing around because of us. Let's get out of here quickly. Kugugugugugugoo. Jang Ik brings us along and starts leaping through boundless space-time. And, chasing the space-time leaping us is the giant hand, shot from the star, resembling a withered old tree branch. What is this? Why isn't entering Nirvana there? Ho, to see a quasi-immortal for that long and still remain sane, you're quite something. Those below the integration stage might not know, but most true persons are in slumber, embodying stars in the astral realm. In fact, all worlds where ancient force transmission arrays are installed are essentially on the bodies of true persons and, while there are some awake among the whole, they're focused on other worlds, making them difficult to meet. He laughs heartily as he speaks. Well, to sum up what I'm saying, that person is just stirring in their sleep so he won't be caught. Anyway, with this level of mental strength and mastery of the basics, how about it? Becoming my disciple? I can't respond to Jang Ike's words, merely watching the giant hand chasing us and screaming in the cosmic void. Thus, Jang Ik and I cross the vast expanse of space-time, flying off to somewhere. Tranelasator notes. Second term changes. Comprehension in the context of mantra repentant enlightenment. Yu Ryan Yu Bek Yu Wa Yu Ryan, Yu Bek, Yu Wa. Dalam Tree Great Forest Wood.